Apologies. Sorry, I missed the loop. My bad. I missed the loop. Whoopsie whoopsie. Am I all good? Nope, I'm in the corner. I am in fact in the corner. One sec. Okay. Hello.
Yo, almost a year.
Hi guys. Just a heads up as usual. We won't be starting straight away. I'll give people a little bit of time to get into the stream. I don't want to, like, people are late for class. People are late for class. Normally in university you only get like 5 minutes. We'll give you guys like maybe
I love history
20 more minutes or so. 20 more minutes. Good morning, guys. Tweet that I'm live. Ah! I forgot about that. I should do that. If I remember how. I'll quite retweet myself. At Clio IT/live. There we are. Cool. Did you see the T tweet? Yes, I quote retweeted it. I quote retweeted it. Get it? Get it? Get it? Do you get it? Fire up the blinking Clio glyph. I should have posted the Clio blinking glyph. I can't speak.
Hi, Clio.
I'm saving myself for when I start talking about history, I guess. But I have been, let's say, in classic Clio fashion, redoing everything in the last second. Well, some of it. Let me close this tab. Do I need this? No, I was going to keep it open just in case I needed to remember which fort it was. This is Richborough. Okay. And then I need to keep this one open. And then I actually need to keep this one open, which will give me something to do whilst I wait for people to show up to the stream. Hi guys. Sorry for not streaming for the last 3 days. I was busy. I made the lecture, and then I remade it 3 times. So, that is why I didn't stream for the last 3 days, because basically every day I, just remade it again and again. And then I would finish it. I'd be like, I'm satisfied. And then I would, read it after. I would play EU5, go to bed, wake up, go through it, and go, oh, this is shit. So I then would redo it that day, finish, load up EU5, play some EU5, go to bed, wake up, read it, oh, this is shit. Delete it, redo it. And, classic Clio fashion, I finished, and I was like, maybe I should have chose a different city for the military one, but oh well, c'est la vie. C'est la vie. Okay, have I got all my tabs open?
Render onto Clio the things that are Clios.
I've got some of my bibliography done, not all of it. Classic Clio fashion as well. Did I add this slide? I did have to add this slide, I think. What is that noise? What is that noise? Thank you, Mr. Faceless. Thank you for 25 months. Thank you very much.
History lectures
And thank you, Dominus. Thank you for the... Oh my god, the $100 donation. Thank you very much. Render unto Clio the things that are Clios, and to the hag the thing that are hags. Thank you. What was I copy pasting? Yes, this is what I wanted to copy paste. Okay. Sorry. I got given... I was able to ask the head of the historical research at Ubisoft some questions. And so I forgot to actually insert them in the lecture. So I was putting those in. And then I also have to make a thumbnail for the Anno stream. Because if you're not aware, guys, full disclosure, today's lecture is inspired by Anno 117. I will be playing Anno 117 after the history lecture. That will be a sponsored stream. This history lecture isn't technically like part of the sponsor. It's just ties into the lecture, the sort of whole stream. So we will be playing Anno 117. I haven't made the thumbnail yet on YouTube, so that is what I need to go do. If you don't mind, I'm gonna go load up Photoshop, because they did send me a document with all of the brand stuff, so I can get some pictures, I think. Nope, that is the review guide. Never mind. That is the review guide. Never mind. Where is a picture of the game? I'd like a picture of the game, please. Can't find it. Can't find any pictures of the game. Okay, we'll go to the Google. Anno 117. Imagers. Let me look for something that's big that I can use in as a thumbnail. Ah, here we go. Perfect. Thank you, PlayStation 5 store. The high-res image of Anno. Save. Open. Open as. Open with. GIMP. There we go. What's a Decumanus? Decumanus is a type of road. Oh, GIMP is open in the background. There you go. Okay, I'll just hide that. Okay. Image. Transform. Size. Stock. How do I do this? Image. It's like a scale layer. There we go. And make it 1920 by 1080, please. Thank you. And I go image to layer to image size. Nope, that's not it. And I go layer to boundary size. Scale, crop to content. Crop to content. Oh, right, we need a new layer to do that one. I think. Scale layer. 1920. 1080. GIMP, my beloved. I've just always used it. Cannot crop to that content because it's already cropped to its content. How do you do this again? Oh, there we go. It is cropped to content. I just pressed the wrong button. Merge down. File. Open as layers. Pictures. Clio folder. Find a Clio. An appropriate Clio. That one looks okay. Nope, that's not a good one. That's me asleep. Let's not do that one. How about this one? Yeah, that works. Stick me over there. Export as. anno thumb dot png dot jpeg. Sorry. Export. There we go. Bish bash bosh. Job's your uncle. I mean, Bob's your uncle. Okay, let me vary 1 second. Like. Schedule a stream. View settings. Anno 117. I will be making a separate going live tweet for that. I think it's hashtag. I need to have hashtag anno in the title. Putting my knowledge, using my knowledge to build the perfect Roman city. There we go. Oh, I have to have the full title. Yeah. Pax Romana. Guys, did you know that the numbers in the Anno games always add up to 9? Did you guys know that? Oh, wait. I forgot to change the thumbnail. That's an EU5 thumbnail. I would get in trouble if I did that. There we go. No, you didn't? 1800, 1 plus 8 plus 0 plus 0. $1400? No, 1404. 1 plus 4 plus 4 plus 0. I did actually ask a question, why did you choose 117? Obviously the answer being that the year 117 is referred to as the zenith of the Roman Empire. And guess what? They came back to me and said, yeah, that's the reason why we chose that. Okay, so 2 hours from now would be, let's say 1:30. 1:30? I'll put it down for that. Okay, probably will be later than that, because knowing Clio classic Clio fashion, I'm probably gonna go overtime. Okay, let's check my water doesn't have any bugs in it. They really do add up to 9. Yeah, they really do. Okay, there's that. Actually, I have to do something else. There is one more thing I have to do. I have to go to Twitch. Sorry, guys. I gotta make a thing. A panel, if you will. Channel. Please don't play my own audio. Okay. Channel, and then edit panels, and then change the panel to the one I downloaded, which is where did I download it? Where did I download it? I'm very prepared, by the way. Can you tell? That was me snapping, yes. Is that a powerful snaps? Powerful? Can you guys snap your fingers? You hate that? That's how I get you guys' attention. When I need you to focus. I need you to lock the fuck in. You thought that was my thighs. What? You thought that was my knees. Okay, rude. 117, the Republic died. Republic died a bit before that, technically. But Augustus, yeah. It's the zenith of... Well, actually, no, it's after Augustus. It's the zenith of Trajan, I think? Yeah, it's Trajan's reign. Where the flip-flop did I download that image? Is it in pictures? Where did that go? I thought it went to pictures. Because it has a specific thing on it. It has a little watermark about the development of Anno. that I think needs to be included. Okay, one sec. I'll go download it again. Where did I download this? Where did this go? Download. I'm downloading it again. Open file. Where is it? Where is it? Where is the destination? What? I was looking at it the entire time, apparently. Oh! The watermark thing isn't there. That's only in the Google Slides version. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Bear with me. Okay. Okay, Control C. Go to Twitch. Oh, they really do keep. They really do just send like full on JPEGs. Done? Is that gonna fit? Oh, it is. Submit. Please choose a file smaller than 1 megabyte. Okay, one sec. I gotta. Ah, my phone alarm's going off. Okay. That was... How big is this file that I just downloaded? Oh, it went to my download. It's 13 megs? Oh my god. Okay, can we open this? I found out a cool trick. If you open an image with photos, you can then right-click and then save as a different file type. So if I want it to be a JPEG, do I look like I know what a JPEG is? You can do that. Okay. Twitch banner JPEG. Please be small. Did you guys know that? You do that? It's very handy. Very, very handy. Okay. Can I have a different image then? Desktop. Are you a JPEG now? You were a JPEG. Okay, we might need to we might need to downsize it. Oh wait, no, that now the thing is there. How's that happen? I don't know. Okay, done. Is that gonna work? Nope. How big is it? How big is it? How big is it? It is 1.78. I need it to be less than that. Okay. Open with GIMP. It's average. It's 3,000 pixels by 2,000 pixels, and I have to size it into a Twitch banner, which has to be less than a megabyte. It has to be a little bit smaller than that. Okay, let me just make this a little smaller, like we did before. 1920 by 1080. Scale. Okay, and then... What do you mean it's already cropped the content? What? Why won't it do it? You know what I can just do? Just do this. Paste over my face. Layer. File. Merge down. Merge layers. Oh, what the heck? Delete layer. Export as. I'm so smart. I'm so smart, guys. I know. Hopefully they don't get mad at me for making the image small enough so I can have it in the thing they want me to have it. Hi Clio, I missed you. Sorry for not streaming, guys. Apologies. I I was locked in, and then didn't stream for a while. But I'll make it up to you for the rest of the week. Don't worry, guys. I have plans. I have schemes. I got schemes. I'm a product. Okay, please tell me this works. We've done it. What? No, I haven't. Something went wrong. Try again. Technology. Why is it not working? Okay, add image. Is it because I took too long? Submit. Please? Something went wrong. Try again. I'll refresh the page. After all that, guys. After all that. You need to move the cropping square to bottom right and scale it upwards. Fudge? What? Add image. And a banner. Done. Link. Submit. Something went wrong. Try again. Add image. Done. I'll do it that way then. Submit. Something went wrong. Try again. What? Huh? How's it? Why is it like that? You better make them image smaller. Put the HTML. Oh! You're so right. The link isn't a link. The link isn't a link. It's one of those shortened links that isn't a link. There we go. Thank you. Thank you for the clarification. Cheers, big ears. Okay. Well, technical issues aside, I think I fixed it. Okay. Refresh. And then I need to... actually, one more thing, guys. One more thing! Am I allowed to say that in that voice, guys? I'm quoting culture. It might not be... Well, it's my culture in that it's from the 2000s. But I'm not Chinese. And I'm not in Jackie Chan's uncle. Timers. There we go. Okay. Sponsor. Where's the actual thing? Anno 117 is out now. Cool. There we go. Illusion ruined. You thought I was Chinese? Not yet. I haven't been made Chinese yet. I did have a call with Sakana at like 2 a.m. my time last night, in which he was after like a project, like a meeting about a project at 2 a.m. So that was fun. Yep, that looks working. That's working. That's working. I can close this. Close this. Okay, get that open. Get that open. Did I put that in the slides? Yes. Yes, I did. Okay, cool. Well then, guys, I might be ready to begin. Apologies for the delay in the setup. It gave me time to let people in to tune into the stream, and then we can start with the lecture. Skyblue Demon, thank you for the super chats. I will claim the mandate of heaven. Yes. Yes, that is the goal. And Acewoo, thank you for 4 months of support on Twitch. Thank you on YouTube, sorry. Thank you. Hi and have a good day. Thank you. I'll try. Josh Travis, thank you for 5 months. Thank you very much. Death XOXO, thank you for 4 months on Twitch. Thank you very much. Melvin, thank you for the super chats. You're excited to learn about the Roman Mahjong metagame. What? Okay. And Spectator, thank you very much for the super chats. What are we learning about the Roman cities? You'll find out very soon. Thank you for the super chats. MK Wall, thank you for the super chats. Ave Clio, can't wait to find about where the Romanite Enut Domus. Thank you. I see you're a fan of Caecilius. And Relevus, thank you very much for the super chats. Or I guess it might be Relevus. Ave Roma Victrix Eterna. Thank you. Red Heracross, thank you for the super chat. Did you see the Dota and Monster Hunter crossover? I did, yes. I'll just go through all the donations first. And then after that, guys, when we get to the presentation, notifications will be paused. I'll be muting them, but I'll read them after. Just because I don't want to interrupt the presentation with like the TTSs and all that jazz. Don't want to do that. So if you want to do them now, or whilst I'm going through them, now if you want to get them out of the way, you can. But during the actual lecture, I don't want it interrupting. Okay, Christian, thank you for the super chats. Madam Professor, my children will be present for this lecture to learn about Roman cities. Oh no. Okay, I'll try and keep it family friendly. Mr. Faceless, thank you for 25 months, which is very difficult when the Romans are involved. Thank you very much for 25 months, Mr. Faceless. Nick, thank you for 7 months on Twitch. Thank you very much. David, thank you for 5 months on YouTube. Glad we're getting another one. Thank you. Sin Historia, thank you for the super chat. The Kookaburra. Thank you very much for the super chat, Sin Historia. You got EU5 my referral link. You don't understand the game. That's, to be fair, I don't either. And I've probably played it a bit more. Jatch, thank you very much for joining the membership on YouTube. Thank you very much. Clear Eye, thank you for the super chats. Thank you for 4 months on YouTube. Thank you very much. Max Forge, thank you for 15 months on Twitch. Thank you very much. Uniclick, thank you for 5 months on YouTube. Zero, thank you for 22 months on Twitch. Wilhelm Screamer, thank you for 5 months on YouTube. Cobalt, thank you for 30 months on Twitch. Sorry, I'm catching up. Sprixy, thank you for 11 months on Twitch. Jackal, thank you for the super chats. 0 days since the boys thought about the Roman Empire. We'll do a little thinking about it. Lord Steve, sorry, thank you for 7 months. Blah. Thank you, Fifth Venom, for 32 months of support. And thank you, the Aztec Stir. Oh no, the Zaxter. Sorry, I can't read. Thank you for 19 months of support. Thank you very much, guys. And then let me scroll up. Did I miss any that just happened? I sure did. Tim Pointer, thank you for 5 months on YouTube. Thank you very much. Asian Noom, thank you for the 1 month on YouTube as well. And Dominus, thank you for the bits. Thank you very much. Be soon, thank you for the super chat. Will this be on the test? There's no test. I didn't set up a, as fun as it would be to set up a test, during the lecture, like a, oh, what's it called? Oh, I've cleansed it from my brain because I hated doing them. Oh, what are they called? Oh, I'm 2 years sober from having to do them. Oh, Kahoots! Thank you. As fun as it would be to do the Kahoots, I don't want to do a Kahoot, I'm gonna be honest. I am 2 years sober of using Kahoot. You love Kahoot. Kahoot with 1,000 people might be a bit hard. Yeah, I think there's... Well, I think FaZe has an account. I think FaZe does have a business Kahoot account. Obviously through work I used to have access to it. I don't have it now, but I also don't have the Kahoot logins for FaZe, unfortunately. Yerife, thank you for 37 months of support. Thank you very much. Throwing my stall penny into the ring. Sub still old. Clio still old. Rome still very, very old. Thanks. James, thank you for joining the membership on YouTube. And Jack Minson, thank you for 2 months on YouTube. Okay, hopefully my tummy isn't too upset. I just realized I was sitting here and going, my tummy feels a bit upset. But we'll have, I'll have breaks mid-lecture. We will be getting ads on Twitch in about 25 minutes. But we can get through a little bit at the start. So drum roll please, guys. Hopefully this is the right window. Yes, it is. Cool. It is the right window. Moving over into the streaming position. Into the streaming position I go. Hi guys. So that's Twitch is there. Where's YouTube? YouTube is hopefully going to appear. There we go. Okay, YouTube and Twitch is on the stream. There we go. Cool. There we go. Can you see the crop window, or is that... No, that's on my OBS. You can't see that. Okay, cool. So hopefully we have the BGM going in the background. We do. Okay, cool. Cool. That is a lot of pillars. Guess what? The Romans were quite fond of pillars. Structurally sound. Yes. And thank you, Kelly, for the gift sub. Thank you very much. I'll ignore any TTSs now. From now on, I will go back for them at the end. But yeah, guys, if you want to donate or whatever, or if you want to, you know, ask questions, you can. You don't necessarily need to use super chats. I will ask you guys questions during the presentation. Because I want to know what you guys think about certain things. But also, at the end, you guys will be able to do all the donation stuff if you guys want to. If you want to, you don't have to. But yeah, welcome guys. Today we are going to be looking at Roman cities, which is a topic I'm not too versed on because I am not an urban historian. Give me a sec to look at you guys like this. There we go. Now I'm looking at you guys. Yeah, so today we're looking at Roman cities inspired by the new game by Ubisoft. We're going to be looking at Anno 117 afterwards. So in part, this lecture is inspired by Anno 117. We will have a sponsored stream for Anno 117 afterwards. And yeah, today we're going to be looking at Roman cities, how they were made, and various different features and designs that influenced Roman cities. So I won't be going into the super nitty-gritty of how they worked. You know, all the sort of like deep fundamental knowledge of like every sort of level of of Roman cities and Roman life and urban spaces, because that is a lot of time. That is a lot of time that we'll be it would take to go through that. So we will be talking more on a sort of macro level, but I will be focusing on 2 settlements, which, you know, I should probably get into the introduction first. But I wanted to ask a question. Does anyone know what this city is in the background, guys? Yes? Does anyone know what settlement this is? And whereabouts is it? Is that one in North Africa? Palmyra. It's not Palmyra. But you are correct. This is Timgad. This is in modern-day Algeria, and it is possibly the best example of a Roman city that is still intact to this day. And so thank you very much to the government of Algeria for preserving it so well. They did a very good job about making sure that it was relatively, you know, structurally the same as it has been since it was uncovered. So we will be focusing on 2 different cities today. Timgad is not one of them, but we will look at it very briefly because it is a good example of the orthogonal grid, which I will probably say. Also, full disclosure, I forgot to put it in the introduction. Hi guys, hello. Also, you can see I'm in the editing run. Also, I may pronounce things wrong like that. There we go, I forgot to add that. As always, last minute edits, I gotta remember. By the way, guys, I'm not the best when it comes to pronouncing things, especially when it's in a different language, especially Latin. My pronunciation is not very good. Yeah, we'll be talking about focusing on how Romans built their cities, and we'll be focusing on 2 different cities, mainly through this lecture. We're focusing on Aquileia and Pompeii. So you probably know of Pompeii. Aquileia, you may not know. You may not know Aquileia unless you've been playing Europa Universalis 5, in which it's somewhat featured. Yes, I'm not an expert on urban history. Please don't expect me to be super duper duper ooper whooper in depth with my knowledge. Hopefully this will be a good introductory topic, not necessarily sort of like super academic. Well, I tried to put as much effort into it as possible, but it's, you know, there's limitations to my knowledge and research because I don't have access to it anymore. But, okay, so, inspired by Pax Romana Anno 117, Pax Romana 117, that is the inspiration for the lecture. May as well look at the Roman Empire in 117. So, you may know of the term Pax Romana. It refers to essentially the zenith of the Roman Empire. This was under the reign of Trajan, and as you can see, it was essentially the peak of territorial expansion of the Roman Empire. And you can see just how many sort of, you know, you've got the different provinces outside of Italy, obviously Rome being here, and you've got the various different areas that they conquered, and you also have the client states. So the light pink areas here, here, and here are your, and then there's also one here. These are the client states of Rome, but the imperial territory of the Roman Empire at its peak includes all of this. So basically most of the Mediterranean and beyond into Great Britain and or the British Isles, I should say. And, you know, it covers all of what would be modern day France, a little bit of Germany, Austria, modern day Hungary, up to the coastline of Romania, down here, Bulgaria, Greece, Turkey, all the way to Georgia, all the way to, I forget where this is nowadays. I don't want to get into a scuffle by saying the wrong country. But yes, huge. As you may know, the Roman Empire, huge. Absolutely huge. But yes, we're not going to be focusing on every little city in the Roman Empire, because that might take a while. As you can probably see, they had a few settlements around the map, guys. And Timgad is over here. This is where Timgad was. If you can see my mouse, I don't know if you... Yeah, you can see my mouse. Timgad was around about here in this part of the world. This is where Timgad would be, which is this guy. Or this settlement, I should say. But we're not going to be focusing too much on Timgad. We're going to be focusing on... Guys, who can say what this is? Anyone in chat? Surely you guys know this. Correct, it is Pompeii. That is, in fact, Pompeii. And you can see Mount Vesuvius in the background. The ominous Mount Vesuvius. This picture is, I think, a few decades old now, which hurts me to say a few decades old, and it means the early 2000s. But it is what it is. It is what it is. So you can see we've got the theatre here. You've got 2 theatres, and you've got the main streets. And you've got just the urban sprawl of the insulae and Pompeii. So a few facts about Pompeii. I think I didn't write these very well, unfortunately. I think these were, unfortunately, not the best written. But yes, as you probably know, Pompeii was destroyed in the year 78 AD, following the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, which, you know, still looms over the landscape to this day. It was resettled as a small settlement until 472 AD, following the Pompeii eruption, in which it just completely devastated the area again. Another one was in 512. So, unfortunately, you know, fairly active, and I believe there were some signs that Vesuvius is still active. It's still an active volcano. So there is potentially the risk that it may go off again. But yes, the reasons as to why we have Pompeii, if you're not aware, it was essentially covered by the volcanic ash, debris, etc., mud, and it basically preserved the town. It also preserved the people that it killed, which I don't go into too much detail, but you're probably aware of the plaster casts of the remains of the people that are sort of left on the site, and I think also kept in a museum in Naples, which is nearby. It's the major city that's nearby Pompeii. And so yes, it was first rediscovered in 1693, and then serious work on the uncovering and excavating the site began after the rediscovery of Herculaneum in 1748. It was in 1763 that they found out the name was Pompeii. It was in 1799 that, with the French occupation of Italy, that more progress was made towards excavating Pompeii. And then finally, the main sort of, I guess we should say the person who's responsible for most of the archaeological uncoveries was Giuseppe Fiorelli, I think is how you say his name, in 1863. And so work does continue on the site. However, large-scale excavation has slowed down / completely stopped. So there is still active excavations going on. However, I think a third of the city has yet to be uncovered. But they are more focused nowadays on preserving what has been uncovered and stopping it from the damages of time. So there was the issues with these archaeological sites being exposed to Mother Nature, essentially, that wears down the archaeological finds. So there's efforts to preserve it and protect it and document it, because, like I said earlier, there is the possibility that Vesuvius goes off in the future, and all of this is going to be gone again, which is quite catastrophic, because obviously there's also people living in and around Pompeii, Naples, that sort of area of the world, and so there is the real fear that at some point in the future it may go off again, and all of this will be lost. So a lot of the efforts are being made to preserve what has been uncovered and leaving future archaeological discoveries to future generations if Vesuvius goes off again. Because I believe the logic is that if it goes off, there should at least be a little bit of time before it goes off again, so future generations can be the one to dig it up. I forgot to turn off my alerts. I'm sorry. Why did... Oh, okay. Okay, there we go. Alerts turned off. I turned off one of the alerts, not both. There we go. Thank you, though. Okay. And so here's an image of the archaeological site of Pompeii. As you can see, it's color-coded. You have during the... Let me just double-check my dates. French occupation of 1799. So as you can see... the pre-French occupation is this light blue sign, so it's mainly around this sort of area. And then when you get into the French occupation, that's when basically more of the city is actually uncovered as well. So you have... Essentially, the early years are focused more on this part of the city. And then as you get further in, so this is Giuseppe's Fiorelli's work, this bit in the dark blue here. That wouldn't be Giuseppe, would it? No, that wouldn't be, sorry. That would be the... That'd be the dark green as well. So the green and the dark purple-ish. There you go. Those areas with the areas that were uncovered during that time frame. And then obviously during the 20th century, pretty much most of our uncoverings were during the 20th century. And then again, unfortunately, it has slowed down, but that is because of, you know, the real threat that Mount Vesuvius still poses to the site. Yeah, okay. And then, so that is Pompeii. The other site we're going to look at is Aquileia. Has anyone in chat been to Aquileia? Or Pompeii, for that matter. Has anyone in chat been to Pompeii or Aquileia? I should say Aquileia, not Aquileia. Aquileia. Yes, you've been to Pompeii? You've been to Pompeii? You've been to Pompeii? Cool. So I hope you had a wonderful time. Hopefully this might not be the most interesting for you, because we are going to be looking at lots of historical pictures, which you may have already seen. But yes, we're going to... This is Aquileia. Aquileia was, unfortunately, destroyed by one Attila the Hun in 452 AD. It was founded originally in 181 BC as a colonia. It was established to help secure the eastern borders of Italy against the neighboring tribes of the Carni and Histri. And then eventually, over time, evolved into a very important frontier military history because it sat at a crossroad, like many Roman settlements do. It was made the capital of Veneti et Histria under Augustus. That was when Augustus divvied up the Italian region into 10 regions. Veneti et Histria was Regio X, or Regio 10, I should say. And yes, it was destroyed by Attila, and it never really recovered to the sort of power and majesty that it had in the Roman period, although it did come back during the medieval period. And nowadays, modern Aquileia only has 3,500 inhabitants, but it is an interesting sort of time frame into Roman history, well, actually just history in the area completely, because it has artifacts and buildings and historical sites for various different times. So it's got your Roman time, it's got your late imperial time frame, and then it's also, because of its connection to Christianity, it has a lot of important buildings from that from the sort of early medieval period, because it was the seat of the archbishop of the area. So it was fairly important for quite a while, just not to the extent that it was during the Roman period. And so, leading into our first question with the developers, and let me just go find the name of the developer. Sorry, hopefully this isn't going to mess up the... No, this isn't going to mess it up. This is with Thierry Noël, I think, who is the head of the Humanities and Inspiration team at Ubisoft. Thank you very much, Thierry, for the answering my questions. His background is that he has a PhD in history, teaching, and he's the author of several history books and articles. He has a master's and PhD in history from the University of Paris Nanterre and University Paris site. Hopefully that is how I say all that. I apologize to the French language for all that I just said. Hopefully I said it correctly. Cool. So the first question I asked was, which Roman settlements and cities were you examining when it came to researching the game? Did this include any on-site research at these locations? And so this is Thierry's answer. The city building experience lies at the heart of the Anno brand. Naturally, this was elevated by the setting of Anno 117 Pax Romana, especially considering the importance of cities in the ancient world, particularly in Rome, with its countless urban foundations spread across the empire. Unfortunately, we didn't have the opportunity to conduct on-site research, but we made use of available resources on the subject, including academic studies, archaeological surveys, and more. We focused on Italy to shape the Latium region in the game, and of course on Roman Britain, modern-day England, for the area known as Albion. We specifically looked at cities such as London, Bath, and Colchester, which were important for the Roman era. So that is where they focused their research on for the game. For the game's aesthetic, the game's time period, and all the important sort of research that they needed for the game. So, before we get into it, guys, we're going to get ads in 2 minutes on Twitch, so we will pause. The first section of the lecture, how did the Romans make cities? Pretty important, right? Pretty important question. How? How do they make cities? And luckily, if I scroll down here, we should be able to get to the first slide. I should be able to get through this first slide. So how did they make them, guys? Well, oftentimes they didn't. So the Romans we do associate with being city builders, but oftentimes they didn't actually build them themselves. So the acquisitions of new settlements was primarily through conquest, subjugation, or diplomatic means. And we will be dealing with the concept of Romanization here quite a little bit. It's a bit of a hot topic. I will get into it in the next slide, but I'll pause. If you don't know what what Romanization is, it's essentially the process in which the Romans gradually encouraged Roman culture upon the peoples that they were occupying, or the peoples that they had conquered. And oftentimes this was through appealing to local elites, granting Roman citizenship, and establishing settlements, or established settlements that were granted the rank, I guess, the prestige of being a Roman colony to reward loyalty. And also there was suzerainty over the client states that would eventually lead to their potential integration into the Roman Empire itself and the assimilation of those peoples into the Roman identity. And also, for people who aren't aware, Roman colonies, I'll get into it in the next slide, but colonia or colonia is typically constructed in conquered territories, and the land was given to the veterans as reward for their service. Okay, we should be getting ads any second now, so I'll just pause for the Twitch guys and YouTube guys, don't worry. And we'll pause. So yeah, hopefully this is all making sense. If you want to ask any questions, please go ahead. I'll try and read them out. What are the points of contention with the notion of Romanization? We will get to that in the next slide, do not worry. It also gives me time to finish eating my breakfast biscuit. Why are you so cool? I don't think I am, but thanks. If only my engineering lectures were presented by a nice VTuber. There probably is someone out there who's doing this. What are archaeological surveys? Archaeological surveys are essentially just like the sort of digging of sites and surveying of the land that archaeologists do to, determine where things was. Was it recorded by the Romans that Romanization was a tactic that they used? I will get into that, but it is a bit of a sticky situation. There's the ads. Okay. Can you go to the toilet? Yes, you can go to the toilet. In fact, I'm just gonna very quickly wash my hands because I finished my breakfast biscuit. One sec. Hello. Yes, so, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Did the Eastern Roman Empire build many new cities, or did they inherit the old ones? A lot of it was through inheriting, I believe. I'm not too well versed in the Eastern Roman Empire, and we don't focus on it with the lecture. Doesn't the word colony come from Cristobal Colon? No, it comes from the Greeks. Colonia is a Greek word. And it refers to the settlements that they established in far-off lands. Thoughts on the Byzantines? We're not going to be touching the Byzantines. We're just focusing primarily on Aquileia and Pompeii. So we're not going to be venturing too far away from sort of the peak of the Roman Empire. Mostly dealing with sort of late Roman Republic, early Imperial era. That's the focus. Is the word column related to colonia? I don't know. I think one of the sources we look at might actually be one you want to look into. Vitruvius is a guy we're going to be looking at later. Spoiler alert. And he loves columns. He loves columns because he's a bit of a Greco-boo. Like many Romans, he was a little bit of a Greco-boo. Welcome back from ads. Welcome back. If you do have any questions, please feel free to ask them. If you've sat through the ads on Twitch. Is Life of Brian historically accurate? Well, I think they did a decent job. But it's also a comedy, right? Who's my favorite Roman emperor? Ooh. Caracalla, maybe? I do love me some big monuments. I do love me some big monuments. The baths at Caracalla are beautiful. I highly recommend checking them out if you've ever looked them up. If you've never seen them. In their majesty. Marcus Aurelius? That's a bit of a, I don't know, stereotypical answer, I think. Anyway, back onto the lecture, guys. So, yes, as we were mentioning, how the Romans made cities. They did make their own cities, of course, but if we look at, and we will get back into it a little bit later, if we look at the map over here, a lot of these settlements were not necessarily established by the Romans themselves. They were conquered. Obviously, especially in Greece, right? And we will get to the urban sprawl of the Roman Empire. You can kind of see where they sort of focus their settlements on. A lot of it is along the coastlines, for example, obvious reasons. Down rivers, for obvious reasons. And, you know, depending on the time period of the empire, the needs of settlements depended on, or the needs for where they wanted to put settlements that they actually built themselves depended on their own borders, as was the case with Aquileia, as it was essentially a frontier military fortification before it became a city. So yes. Now, as I mentioned, Romanization, a bit of a contentious topic, and so we'll be talking about it a little bit. So, Romanization refers to the process in which the Empire of Rome essentially changed the territory and peoples that it had annexed into the Roman identity, the Roman culture, the Romanization of the lands and populations. But when we're talking about this, it can evoke modern ideas of imperialism and colonization. And so that can be a little bit of an issue, because when you get to talking about those topics, it does result in overgeneralization and homogenization when you're dealing with modern terms to talk about events that, for example, when we're talking about colonization, what you've got the fall of Rome in the West in the 5th century, and then you've got the discovery of the New World in the 15th century. So there's about 1,000-year time difference for the concept of Romanization and even the birth of what we would consider modern, or I guess the concept of colonialism that I think most people think about. And so yes, it is very difficult to apply modern terminologies to ancient peoples because, it's a very different time frame and it can get a little bit... Ugh. That isn't to say that the Romans didn't engage in what you would see as in line with your cultural understanding of colonization and imperialism. For example, the subjugation of Dacia by Domitian, which, as I put, may have made Cecil Rhodes proud. For example, if you don't know, in Dacia was very rich in mines, and so it was very clear what they were going for when it came to the conquest of Dacia. They wanted the rich resources to exploit it for themselves. But for the most part, this is a time frame that is hundreds of years. What is it? We're dealing with a time frame of 700 BC to 400 AD for the Roman Empire in the West. You've got a massive time frame, and so the Roman exploitation and expansion doesn't necessarily precisely fit with traditional modern imperialist or colonial dynamics. But that was also to say that modern imperialism and colonialism came in many forms as well. So again, it's just a very, very, very complex topic to talk about that isn't the focus of this lecture, but it is important to talk about. And so one key feature of the Roman sort of Romanization is that Rome itself was happy to adapt, accept, and even include local cultures without destroying them. We will talk about that with Pompeii, for example. And it's evident in Britain, it's evident in Greece, it's evident in various different sites across the empire. For example, temples in Britain featured local gods alongside the Greco-Roman gods and the imperial cult, obviously. Same in Greece. You had people still free to worship their own gods, still free to worship and, focus on Greek culture. People wore hymations, not togas, which, again, there's not that much difference between the two, but there's a cultural difference, and there's, it's hard to sort of nail down the concept of Romanization as this one specific thing and apply it to modern terminology, for example. So yes, this can be a very spicy topic because it still has political ramifications to this day. So yes, it is important to talk about because we will be talking about it when it comes to Pompeii. Okay, hopefully that is explained it. Language was a big thing. Yeah, and for example, people in Greece got to keep speaking Greek. People in, they did encourage Latin learning within the cultural elites, but that is not necessarily something that was seen as trying to remove identity. That was just trying to get these people to be able to communicate with you properly. Okay. So, having all said that, could the Romans have allowed the Greeks to keep their culture and worshipping their gods because their cultures were so close? Honest question. There's elements of that, but also the Romans were fans of the Greeks, right? Essentially the Romans were Greco-booters, essentially, if you want to use a silly online term. they loved Greek culture. They were huge fans of Greek culture and exported so much Greek culture to Rome. You had rich patrician families acquiring intellectual Greeks, let's say, and employing them, in quotation marks, to teach their children about Greek culture, for example. Oftentimes, maybe not with the with the permission of the person that they've employed originally, perhaps. But yes, there were essentially, you know, the Romans were fascinated with Greek culture and, you know, incorporated Greek gods and mythology into their own. Same with in Egypt as well, where, you know, you have the Egyptian gods being incorporated into the Roman pantheon as well. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully. Okay, next slide. Because we're talking about Romanization, guess what? That is actually somewhat of a theme of the game. Roman society was a lot more, so this is my question. Roman society was a lot more advanced and complex than the average person tends to realize. Me throwing an example. For example, Roman soldiers begrudgingly working in the mines of Dacia due to the shortage from terrible working conditions. Were there any discoveries that you made about Roman society that surprised you? Follow-up question. What are the challenges of adapting this complexity into a video game? And so this is Thierry's response. Conveying the complexity and diversity of the Roman world is a real challenge. Material culture can be reconstructed, but its intangible aspects, social, cultural, and political dynamics are much harder to represent. However, video games offer a wealth of creative opportunities to meet this challenge, whilst ensuring a fun and immersive experience. That is precisely how we can explore a phenomenon as intricate as Romanization, the process of assimilating to the Roman way of life in the provinces, whilst also highlighting the persistence of strong local traditions. That coexistence is perhaps what made Rome so surprising. So there is an element of talking about Romanization in the game. So that's pretty cool. So, oh, one sec. One sec, guys. I'll just be a 1 moment. I've been asked to lock the door as my roomie leaves. One sec. Sorry, Rumi just left, which is very awkward, because now Lottie's going to lose her mind, unfortunately. So I apologize if my dog is howling too much in the background, guys. Apologies. Hopefully she's not going to be too distraught. I may need to take a little break to try and settle her down. But I can't control what my roomies do, and I can't control what Lottie does. Too much. Okay, so moving on, we're talking about Romanization. Pompeii! Pompeii is an example of that Romanization in general. Sorry, I'll pause before around her howling. There she is in the background. God damn it. So, if you do not know about Pompeii, it was originally a settlement that was founded by the Oscans in the 8th century BC, so a long time before the Romans even got there. There was... Come here. There was a Roman... there was a presence of settlement and development on the site. And it was originally 5 villages that over time then congregated into one site. Can you calm down? Okay, hopefully she'll calm down. I'll hold her paw Sorry, I'm gonna be like this. I'm gonna be leaning like this, guys. So this image is from Wikipedia, just a heads up. The red is the original sites. Actually, it isn't the original site, it's the, because the original site was built over. But yes, originally it was the Oscans, and then in the 7th century BC, you have the arrival of the Greeks, and then later on you have the arrival of the Etruscans, who neither of them conquered the site, but exerted control and influence over the sites. For example, there are temples, or there were temples in Pompeii that were dedicated to the Greek gods. And then there was temples dedicated to the Etruscan gods. And so these were built in the sites, and then you have the establishment of the actual sort of this red settlement here. This was by the Samnites. The Samnites were a people that were... wait, have I talked about... Wait, what? Hang on a second. Did I miss my slides? No. Okay, now we're good. We're good. I got confused then. I thought I'd put my stuff out of order. So the Samnites were a people that were eventually conquered by the Romans, or incorporated into the Roman sort of sphere of influence. And so you may be aware of the Samnite Wars. This was a settlement that they had originally established here in the Reds. And then following that, there was the first expansion in the blue here. This would have been in the 4th century BC. So that was still during the period in which it was controlled by the Samnites, but was under the influence of Roman control. And then following that, you have the expansion in the green section. This would have been firmly under the influence of Roman control again. And then finally, the city itself was, I guess you can say, officially Roman or Romanized. And this is represented in the expansion in 89 BC with this huge expansion here of the yellow zone. And if you can't see, because my shoulder is in the way, where's YouTube here? You can see bottom left, you've got your arena, your amphitheater. Well, not your amphitheater, sorry. You've got your stadia. I've forgotten the word for it. I'm sorry. I guess arena? Nah, I'll pull it up. No, it's not the Hippodrome. The Colosseum. Yes. Colosseum. Thank you. The theaters are down here, if you can see them. These are the theaters that we were looking at. If you want to refer to the site, so if we go back to here, here's the big theater and here's the little theater. You can see this street here. If you're wondering about where this perspective is, it is from this angle. So it's basically from the south here looking up. So Vesuvius is up here to the north. And there you go. And so yes, for example, of the process of Romanization. Here we go. So this is the map of Roman expansion in the Italian peninsula, from 500 BC to 218 BC. And so you've got, in the very, very beginning, guys, here's Rome. Tiny little Rome. The little city-state that could. The little city-state that could. And over time, it's during the Latin Wars in the light red. That is the territorial expansion over the Vai and the Is it Volsci? Yeah, is it Volsci? Volsci? Peoples. Those were the primary antagonists of the Latin War. And then you've got the Samnite Wars in the pink and orange. You can't really see it on the map. You can see it Neapolis there with my cursor. Pompeii is just below it there. Well, I'll get into that in a few slides. But yes, so that was sort of when the site of Pompeii would have come under Roman influence, so to speak. And then, you know, further on so forth, you've got the Pyrrhic Wars in beige, which is this one down here on the foot, the heel. And then you have the First and Second Punic Wars, so obviously around Sicily and Sardinia, Corsica. And then also in the north, you have the conquests of Alpine Gaul and the Alpine valleys to round it out. So Veneti, which is important because we'll be dealing with that soon. Hopefully that makes sense. Does that make sense? So the Romans went down south and then they went up north, basically. That's how they conquered the peninsula of Rome. Oh, okay. So they stuck a U-turn and they went back north to conquer it. Rip the Veneti. We'll talk about them a little bit later. So, big question then. Where did the Romans make cities? The ones that they did build. I'm sorry, I don't know that story. Okay, so where did the Romans make cities? Okay. So, this is a map that I found online. It's by Marko Duranovic. I apologize. I believe they're Croatian, so I probably said it wrong. The map probably isn't completely accurate, but it's based on the data from the Digital Atlas of Roman and Medieval Civilizations, now referred to as the Mapping Past Societies at Harvard University. So yes, if you're not aware, this was essentially the spread of Roman settlements. It is not every settlement. We will go into the map very quickly. Let me just hide the Firefox real quick. Get it to load. Hopefully it loads properly. Okay, so this is an image of the... Can I zoom in? Does this have a zoom in option? I forget. Image in new tab. Is this gonna work? No. Basically is a blurb down here. So the I think I can probably just zoom in. There we go. So the definite locations are the squares. Probable locations are circles, and possible locations are semicircles. So there's a lot of guesstimation with this map. There is elements of guesstimation with the map. It's not 100% precise. There's some sites missing. I did see online some various different people were like, hey, this town near me isn't on this map, blah, 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 blah. So it's not super duper precise, but yeah, it was just a very well made map that helped sort of visualize the sort of, I don't know, the concept of where these settlements were dispersed throughout the empire. Hopefully it makes sense. Sorry about my dog, guys. I'm so sorry. I might close the door on her so she can't be disruptive. But yes, like we were saying, a lot of these settlements, they weren't made by the Romans themselves because they didn't need to. They already existed. It's kind of like a heat map. Well, funny you say that, guys. Funny that you say it's like a heat map. Ta-da! So this map is from the study Urban Form, Infrastructure, and the Spatial Organization of the Roman Empire. It is by John Hanson, Scott Ortman, Louis Bethencourt, and Liam Mazur. And this is essentially the population spread of the Roman Empire in 117 AD. And so you can see how it maps up with, obviously, the urban spaces map. You can see how the distribution of population sort of lines up. And you have these huge urban spaces, throughout the Roman Empire, aligning with the population map of the empire. And you can kind of just see, outside of the major urban areas of Rome, Greece, Asia Minor, down the coastline here into Egypt, North Africa, you can, like, even in like Gaul, you can kind of see that there's a whole lot of empty space, right? There's a lot of empty space in which there's really not many people living there, right? So there's supposedly settlements, but whether they were actually densely populated is another question. So yeah, obviously you have like the Alps, right? They're not going to build cities and towns on the Alps, right? You have the natural borders as well of spaces in which they're not going to be able to build towns. All roads lead to Rome was no joke, exactly. And obviously Roman population in the city of Rome was primarily built upon what's the word I'm looking for? Migration. It was built on migration. So like the actual population wasn't growing through birth rates. It was through people moving from elsewhere in the empire to Rome, because it was the city to live in. It was the heart of the empire. But, they had these other urban spaces around that did home lots of populations that, for the most part, did, stay where they were. You had local populations that became part of the Roman Empire, but they were more than happy to just keep on going with life, right? And so yeah, there you go. That's an interesting visual graph of where these urban spaces and populations were. Romans in England? Yes. Up until 410. The Romans were in England for, 400 years? Something like that? Londonium, right? The city of London was originally founded by the Romans. And then they abandoned it, but yeah. Okay, so for this lecture, we are focusing primarily on Pompeii and Aquileia. If you do not know where they are, here they are. I drew them on a map. Pompeii is here, just south of Naples, down here. Aquileia is up here, to the northeast of Rome. I mean, not Rome. Northeast of Venice, modern-day Venice. Brilliant map, thank you very much. Don't worry, we will get a little bit more in depth, but I found this really interesting website online that actually plots. It's called Orbis. It's the Stanford Geospatial Network model of the Roman world, and yeah, you can just plot out routes across the Roman Empire. It's a really cool little tool. And so I plotted them. So there's Pompeii and there's Aquileia. And apparently, during a summer month of July, it would take 13.3 days to get from Pompeii to Aquileia. The fastest route, that is. It would cover 903 kilometers. And that is, obviously, as you can see, sailing down the coastline towards Rome, crossing across the peninsula to the other side, and then sailing up north to Aquileia. Lumi, thank you very much for the raid. Thank you very much. I'll do the shoutouts. Sorry, I've got notifications muted whilst I teach. I hope you had a wonderful stream, Lumi. Thank you very much for the raid. Thank you very, very much. Welcome, guys. Today we are focusing on Roman cities. I'm doing a history lecture about Roman cities in the lead up to the release of Anno 117. Pax Romana. Isn't central Italy mountainous? It is. There is mountains, yes, but not all of it. It's some of it's just hilly, and so the Romans did build roads through, like lots of roads through and around Italy to get around very quickly. So yeah, this is this interesting website. It's called it's Orbis. If you look it up, you can just mess around with it. You can play with different settings. You can plot out different routes. Like, for example, if you wanted to see how long it took to get from Rome to Britain, for example, you can. It's a very, very interesting website. Very, very interesting. So yeah, thank you again for the raid. And so we were looking at, if you were wondering for the raiders, if you just arrived, we were looking at where did the Romans make cities. Guess what, guys? We actually know, thanks to one, Vitruvius. And Vitruvius is I believe he was a siege engineer. I believe he was a siege engineer in the Roman army who went on to write books about city building and town planning and all sorts of different things because he was a bit of a nerd. I went to pick her up and then she ran away. I went to pick her up and she was running away like she didn't want to be picked up. Calm down. So yes, here is this is from his book of architecture, book 1, chapter 4. I have it open on another tab if we need to read some more of it. But yes, for fortified towns, the following general principles are to be observed. First comes the choice of a very healthy site. Such a site will be high, neither misty nor frosty, and in climate neither hot nor cold, but temperate. Further, without marshes in the neighbourhood. For when the morning breeze blows towards the town at sunrise, if they bring with them the mists from marshes, and mingled with the mist, the poisonous breath of the creatures of the marshes to be wafted into the bodies of the inhabitants, they will make the site unhealthy. Again, if the town is on the coast with a southern or western exposure, it will not be healthy, because in summer, the southern sky grows hot at sunrise and is fiery at noon, while a western exposure grows warm after sunrise, is hot at noon, and at evening all aglow. Which is quite ironic, because we're looking at Pompeii. So he was talking about things in a very sort of, let's say, obvious way, right? Don't build next to a swamp, because you'll get malaria. Build near bodies of water so you can drink. Like, these are very obvious statements that make sense to us nowadays, but, you know, it's nice to have it documented. He talks furthermore in this section. Let me just get the list of... I actually still have it open. Where is it? Here it is, Project Gutenberg. Scroll up. Where is it? So basically he's talking about how, like, cities, if you build them in hot places, is bad because guess what? Shit is hot. Right? He's like, oh, if you have iron in the sun, the iron gets hot and then you don't want to touch it, so you can't do work. So you can't do anything if your tools are too hot because they've been lying in the heat all day. He talks about various different sites. I think there's one specific site that he mentions in Greece as being a poor site for a settlement further on. But he also mentions, so he's talking about the 4 humors as well, right? Like, these are concepts of, you know, the Roman health and sort of ideas about health and things that they were conscious of when it came to building settlements. He talks about considerations of observing birds, fishes, land animals in the area, and come to reflect upon distinctions of temperament. So, for example, if the you know, depending on what sort of animals are in the area, you can determine about whether a settlement is suitable to live in based on the wildlife in the area, right? Like, these are just sort of various different theories that they had about city building. Like, we don't necessarily know just how many people sort of listened to him when it came to the actual settlements. But, you know, it does act as like a guideline, or at least the concept of a guideline that we understand that the Romans may have implemented when it came to choosing locations to live or build. Where is the... oh, here we go. Pasturage and food may indicate the healthful qualities of a site. In fact, is a fact which can be observed and investigated in certain pastures in Crete. On each side of the river Potherus, which separates the two Cretan states of Knossos and Gortynia. Sorry, I'm so sorry. There are cattle at the pasture on the right and left banks of that river, but while the cattle that feed near Knossos have the usual spleen, those on the other side near Gortynia, have no perceptible spleen. On investigating the subject, physicians discovered on this side a kind of herb which the cattle chew and thus make their spleen small. The herb is therefore gathered and used as a medicine for the cure of splenetic people. From food and water, then, we may learn that whether sites are naturally healthy or unhealthy. So these are all just various different sort of considerations that, at least for Vitruvius, people had about settlements and where to build them, right? So, using this concept, do the settlements of Pompeii and Aquileia fit? Pompeii, not so much. But, to be fair, Pompeii, not built by the Romans, as we mentioned. It was Romanized. So, Pompeii does have fertile land around it, but it actually is quite far away from water. It was... So the people of Pompeii did... Looks like a crater. That's Mount Vesuvius. This is Mount Vesuvius here. Pompeii's here. This is modern Pompeii, but Pompeii, as in the historical site, is also right there. They had to... The people of Pompeii were reliant on... what was it? They had essentially just like... they did have an aqueduct that provided the city with water, and yeah, they had aquifers, so there wasn't a river necessarily, but there was water sources in the area that they drew from. And so, you know, you look at it nowadays, it's pretty fucking dry. it's pretty fucking dry. But also that's because it's 2,000 years old. So this is the site of Pompeii. And unfortunately, the aqueduct, I think, is destroyed and lost to time. Partly because I think there was an earthquake. Like, before Vesuvius went off, I think there was like the decade earlier, there was a pretty major earthquake that probably knocked out the aqueduct. And I think it's like historians dispute whether or not the aqueduct was repaired in time prior to the eruption of Vesuvius. Sorry, stumbling over my words. So yeah, this is where as you can see in the background there, there's Vesuvius, the slope of Vesuvius. But there, this is Pompeii. And so that's geographically where Pompeii is. And then we've also got over here Aquileia. So this is where Aquileia is, and as you can probably see, it sits on a river, very importantly. And so this is a 3D render of what Aquileia is believed to have looked like. It was pretty huge. If you go there nowadays, it might not seem very large. Can you stop whining, please? Sleepy, thank you very much for the raid. Let me shout out Sleepy. The raid on YouTube and Twitch. Shout out Sleepy. There we go. Thank you very much for the raid. Welcome, Sleepy. And Sleepyheads, thank you for the raid. I hope you had a wonderful stream. Hi, I'm Clio. We're doing a history lecture on Roman cities at the moment, and we're talking about Aquileia and Pompeii. So yeah, if you want to stick around, you're more than welcome to. Welcome, guys. Yeah, we're talking about, this is Aquileia. We were just talking about Pompeii. Here's modern day Pompeii. Thankfully, we still have it. Aquileia, we don't really have much left. But this is a 3D render of what Aquileia is believed to have looked at, like based on, I believe they use, I don't know if the word is LIDAR or just geographic surveying of the site. This is what they believe the city to have looked like, and I think there's also some historical descriptions of how it looked as well, which we may feature in the lecture. But yes, as you may be aware, because when we talked about it, this is actually the Roman Forum. This is what is left of the Roman Forum in Aquileia, compared to Pompeii, which is right there. So this is the Roman Forum here in Pompeii. As you can see, it's very different in what is left, thankfully, because of, you know, the preservation that the eruption of Vesuvius did to the site. This is what is left of the port of Aquileia. It might not seem very impressive, but you know, if you look at the artist impression, the river that flows past is a lot bigger back then than it is nowadays, because it's, you know, there's basically nothing left. You've been there? Oh, hello, Panko. Thank you for stopping by. Yeah, it's a fascinating site. I would like to go one day. So yeah, that is essentially listening to old mate Vitruvius, where our two settlements are built. Like, pretty obvious reasons as to why they built here. There's fresh water, and it's at a crossroads of the Roman Empire, which they built. And it was also, we'll get into it a little bit later, but I think I mentioned it earlier, that it's a frontier town, essentially. But yeah, it essentially served as a fortress town to act on the border to protect the empire. Or the territory of the Romans, I guess. Would you call it an empire back then? But yeah. That explains the walls. Yes. Very big, very impressive walls. And then Pompeii was a walled settlement. But obviously maybe not to the extent that Aquileia was. Which brings us into the next question, guys. How did the Romans make them safe? Guess what? They built walls. What a surprise. We're just talking about walls. And guess what? Guess who wrote about walls, guys? That's right, Vitruvius! So Vitruvius has a whole section of his book about walls and how important they were to this settlement. So after ensuring on these principles of the healthfulness of the future city and selecting a neighborhood that can supply plenty of foodstuffs to maintain the community, with good roads or else convenient rivers or seaports affording easy means of transport to the city, the next thing to do is the lay of foundations to the towers and walls. Dig down to the solid bottom if it can be found, and lay them therein, going as deep as the magnitude of the proposed work seems to require. They should be much thicker to the parts than the parts of the walls that will appear above ground, and their structure should be as solid as can possibly be laid. So yeah, Vitruvius talks about urban planning a lot, and walls very important to keeping your settlement safe. And so we can talk about both sites because they were both walled. So this is the site of Pompeii, and you can see the outline of the walls of Pompeii. So this wall here is the major wall running over here. You have then the gate of Vesuvius, because Vesuvius was pointing to the north. And then the wall continues around. You've got the Nola gates going east-west. And then you also have the Sarno gate that also ran east-west. if we look back at... why did I put this slide here? Why did I put that slide here? Oh, actually, no, this is important. Yeah, sorry. So yeah, they also had towers. So you can see these square blocks along the walls. There were towers along the wall. The wall, again, running all the way around and wrapping around the whole city. And again, watchtowers at strict locations to keep the city safe. Same can be said for Aquileia. You have the walls. You have gates guarding the major roads. There's one here, one here, one here, one here, and one here. And then you have towers built at strategic locations to make sure the town and city were safe. And Vitruvius has more to say. So, very importantly about Vitruvius is that he talks about the importance of round fortifications. Where is it? The towers themselves must either be round or polygonal. Square towers are sooner shattered by military engines, for the battering rams pound their angles to pieces, but in the case of round towers they can do no harm, being engaged, as it were, in driving wedges to the centre. This system of fortification by wall and towers may be made safest by the addition of earthen ramparts, for neither rams nor mining nor other engineering devices can do them any harm. So, very interestingly, that the Romans had the concept of rounded towers that was then lost, right? You had rounded towers being built by the Romans, and then later on you had square towers being built in a medieval period, until they were eventually then dropped and replaced again with rounded towers. So, you know, you had sort of, you know, he also talks about the thickness of walls, how long they should be manned, the position and space between towers. Where is it? Oh yeah. The towers must be projected beyond the line of wall, so that an enemy wishing to approach the wall to carry it by assault may be exposed to the fire of missiles on his open flank from the towers on his left and right. Special pains should be taken to make sure there is no easy avenue by which to storm the wall. The road should be encompassed at steep points and planned so as to approach the gates, not in a straight line, but from the right and left. For as a result of this, the right side of the assailants, unprotected by the shields, will be next to the wall. Town should be laid out as to not an exact square, nor with salient angles, but in circular form, to give the view of the enemy from many points. Defense is difficult for where there are salient angles, because the angle protects the enemy rather than the inhabitants. So yeah, he's talking about very strategic concepts when it comes to how to set out a town, which makes sense. He was a siege engineer, right? That is his supposed background, I believe, is that he was a siege engineer. So him talking about the design of these towns is from the concept of someone who is probably blowing up walls for a living, right? So, you know, you can't really see it in modern day Pompeii, but yeah, in the historical sort of designs and concepts of Aquileia and Pompeii, you can kind of see his concepts in action. Aside from, in this artistic style, you can see that the towers are actually square in this, rather than round. But the walls, very thick walls, as you can see. The pretty major urban space. Somewhat interestingly, is you do have this space along the port side here that the enemies would be able to sort of walk down, but you kind of do need to have, you can't have a wall on water, right? You need land for it to sit on before it touches the river. Right, so that was here with Vitruvius, and so you can see the concept of urban spaces needing defenses, right? And so the Romans were heavily influenced by their military when it came to these urban spaces, right? And the need for protection. Because we have the military influence of urban planning. Sorry, I'm just going to ignore that. And so the Romans, with their military, would establish these camps called castra, which had standardized designs that they used throughout the period of the empire. And so castra came in 2 different forms. There was the temporary castra, which is the castra aestiva, or aestiva, and then you have the permanent castra, which was the castra strativa. And so they served multitude of purposes. They were potentially there for training, administration, defense. If you were marching, for example, with these temporary ones, these camps would be built just, you know, if a legion was marching, they would finish marching for the day and dig in, and they would just build this camp, and that was what they slept in. So they would assemble this after a day of marching, assemble this, and then after they were done, they would be on their way. Pack up, march again, right? Like these were the sort of structures that they were constructing throughout the empire, both temporary and permanent. And these permanent castra would often go on to develop into towns. If I can scroll down, yep. So we know about how the castra were laid out, thankfully, because how many Romans does it take to change a castra? Guess what? We actually know. There is De Munitionibus Castrorum, whose author I believe is anonymous. We don't know who wrote it, but we do know a lot about castra. So one of his sections from the work is that we will now explain the way in which the cohorts described above pitched their tents, because the introduction is basically talking about the army that was marching, and then here's how they set up castra. One tent occupies 10 feet. This length is increased by 2 feet for the pitching, and it shelters 8 men. A complete century has 80 soldiers, so there'll be 10 tents which will run in a line 120 feet long. Because the width of the hemistriga is 30 feet, 10 feet are assigned to the tents, 5 feet to the weapons, and 9 feet to the pack animals. This makes 24 feet, twice this is 48 feet. So when 2 sentries camp opposite each other, a striga strip of 60 feet will be made. There remains 12 feet, which will provide sufficient space for those coming and going. This space is calculated for the complete legionary century. Since 16 men from each century are on guard duty at any one time, they do not pitch more than 8 tents per century. In this way, the centurion has a place to pitch his tents on the same area as those tents would have been. Otherwise, it would have been necessary to allocate more space. So they were packing in like sardines, as you can see here. So 8 men per tent, if you can imagine here in this space. They were nice and tight. Anyone go on like a camping trip or something in school, guys? Anyone in chat go on a camping trip? I'm sure you may have had to share tents back then. You can sort of see just how tight and compact they were, and just how many men they were fitting. Right, a lot of people trying to fit in a fairly small space. So the size of this space, I believe, I don't know if I have it in this presentation slide. Did I put it in there? I think I did. But the size of this camp was... Hang on, I have it open, I think. Do I have it open? Oh, no, I don't have it open. One sec. Oh, hang on, let me get the right slide open. If I go to... There we go. Demunitionibus castrum. I had a translated one open that I closed, I guess. Why did I close it? Oh, and the supposed author of the work is Pseudo-Hyginus, I should say. We have ads starting in 3 minutes on Twitch, so we will take a break, don't worry. The size of the camp was... there's a very interesting stat in this. Where is it? Proportions of the camp. Okay. As far as possible, the camp should be in 3x2 in proportion so that a blowing breeze can refresh the army. I said above 3x2 ratio, for example, 2,400 feet by 1,600 feet wide. If it is longer, then the trumpet call can be sounded, but in a disturbance, the horn cannot be easily heard at the Porta Decumana, which is the central point. If it is wider, the outline is too near being a square. So they're talking about, in the potential issue of a crisis happening and they need to rally the troops, they need the camp to be small enough that a trumpet can ring out from the middle and everyone in the camp can hear it. So these are the sort of concepts that they're thinking about when designing these camps, right? Which is pretty fascinating, right? Like, the design that they are establishing needs to be limited in scope so that anyone in the middle, this is both temporary and permanent versions, anyone in the middle, anyone in the camp will hear the alarm going off, essentially, right? Which is it's cool concepts that you might not think about, because, you know, nowadays we have modern technology where if an alarm goes off, everyone in that building probably knows about it, right? But they didn't have that back then. They had to rely on sounding the alarm, right? Sound the alarm, and then you hear a ding 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 ding, which you associate with like a medieval period in which like something is happening in a town or a city. The bells being rung in the church to alert people to something is happening, right? You know, these are just interesting concepts to think about with regards to the limitation of the time period and how they built around those limitations, right? You've been to various different castroms. They all have similar layouts and sizes. Exactly. And I'll get into that in a sec. We've got ads starting in 20 seconds or so. Like how Sun Tzu says things about war that are actually obvious to any experienced officer, but is still a good overview for covering all bases. Exactly, right? Like, a lot of these things that we may just take for granted, right? Like, for example, when we were talking about where the Romans built their cities with Vitruvius over here, like, yeah, of course it makes sense. Don't build next to a swamp so you don't get sick, right? Like, it makes perfect sense, but you might not think that, like, hey, we need to write that down. It's just like, oh yeah, but, you know, when you're talking about places to build and where to build and why to build, like, they documented this stuff, which, you know, nowadays we just accept as like face value, but, you know, it's important to have it, like, you know, recorded for prosperity, right? Because, you know, some people may not realize these things. Anyway, there's the ads on Twitch. 1 second. I'm just gonna restock my cup of tea real quick. So I'll be 1 sec, guys. We're on a little bit of a break. If you need to stretch, get up, stretch, get some water. Stretch your limbs, stretch your legs, because we've been sitting for, I don't know how long. How long has it been? 2 hours? It's been about 2 hours, so make sure you stretch and get limber. I'm just gonna put the kettle on. Words are hard, guys. Words are very difficult. Sorry, the kettle. Did I have a face? Is that how I left? We are in the castrorum. We're in the fortifications of the castrorum. So was I on this slide? Yes, I had gone to this slide, and then the next slide is somewhat, I think, interesting. Hello. Some great points that are easily forgotten. Yeah, exactly, right? Like, I think for a lot of... we take a lot for granted in the modern age because we just have so much knowledge available to us, right? That, like, you know, we have Vitruvius's knowledge, right? We have his access to his work whenever we want, right? With someone wanting to create a town on the other side of the Roman Empire 100 years earlier, be able to know where to build stuff? Maybe not, but also there is just the sort of intuition that I guess people had for building settlements. What do you need? You need fresh water, you need food supplies, you need resources, you need to have access to trade. Like, these are things that the Romans thought about when it came to where they put their settlements. Welcome back from the ads. We were talking about the castrum, or the castras, or castrum, I guess, is plural of castra. And so, very importantly, we get into, this is the, this is a castra, I believe it's in Germany? On the left, this is the design of the castra, and you can see the multi-tiered walls. So you have the actual wall of, the actual settlement with towers, and then you have the earthen walls as well, and then you have the actual walls of the roads running north south and east west, and these are reoccurring themes that you may have noticed that both of our settlements that we've talked about have, and so there's this influence of Roman military design on Roman towns and settlements and the design that they had. And you can see maybe influences from Vitruvius, or the works of Vitruvius talking about, you know, the various different things. So, for example, having these sites be elevated. So, not too high, but elevated in a way so it's on a hill, so it overlooks the area. Then you have the earthen ditches and ramparts to protect the settlement from the lead up to the walls from various different I guess war engines or rams or various different siege tools, right? And so this castra on the left is in Germany. This one on the right is LIDAR, basically surveying technology that allows you to see sort of like, I guess, x-rays of the land, LIDAR. This is in the UK, this is in Britain. There's lots of LIDAR scans of British castrum, I should say, in Britain. Let me just find out. Ooh, sorry, did I press the wrong thing? No, we're fine. This one is in... I just grabbed this from the Wikipedia article for castra, just full disclosure. This one is in Richborough, at the site of Rutupier. There you go. It's laser scanning. Yeah, if you've ever seen the show Time Team, it's the thing that they stab into the ground, I think, and they go boop, boop, boop. Yeah, they don't stab it, it's non-ground penetrating. They just, like, they do things on it, right? It basically scans the ground. It's pretty cool. It does lots of boops. Ground penetrating radar. It's very cool, yes. Sonar for land. Okay. So yes, as we talked about, with the castra, you may notice, guys, the castra and the certain settlement that we've been looking at, not Pompeii, Aquileia, have similar designs. So if I go back to the Aquileia image, you might notice, wait a second, Aquileia looks a lot like a castra, right? And that's because the founding of Aquileia, it was a military colony. This is via Livy, who wrote, "In the same year, 181 BC, the colony of Aquileia was deducted in the territory of the Gauls. 3,000 infantrymen received 50, I don't know how to pronounce those measurements, Uigura, I think it is, each. The centurions received 100, and the horsemen received 150. The triumvirs who founded the colony were Publius Scipio Nasica, Gaius Flaminius, and Lucius Manlius Acidinus. I love his name is great. Lucius Manlius. Acidinus, I guess, is how you say his name. And so that measurement, I believe, is the equivalent of 3/4 acres. I think is Iguera is 3/4 acre. So the men receive huge plots of land. Which, when you look at Aquileia, doesn't really sort of line up, really. But it's also maybe the concept of scale from looking at it from the top down is a little bit all confusing. So essentially, the original military colony is this dark red here. This dark red here is the original military colony of Aquileia. It was obviously established, as we mentioned before, 181 BC. And so this is that original plot, and it actually has the walls in. So the original Cashmere is the dark red, and the walls are in dark pink. So this around here, this dark area was the actual original fortification that was built. The walls that were built around it. So it's actually the walls are quite huge in comparison to the actual original military colony. So there's room for growth in the settlement. And then after that, in the year 100 BC, with the construction of the Via Annia, which is this road here, which I think was I think it was built like 30 years earlier. So this road is essentially the road that runs across, if I get the map, it's essentially the map that runs across Veneti, the region of Veneti. So it runs from Aquileia all the way across to sort of like the central northern area of Italy, right? So a very important road that they built in around 131, and then Aquileia, because it runs through Aquileia. Aquileia was a very important town at the time. They where was it? Here. They built these walls to expand the site and then also expand the city and make it secure. Make it nice and secure and protective. You can set up control key as a focusing circle, mouse pointer settings. Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So yes, this is the Aquileia site. As you can see, you've got the central area in between, and we can compare it to the, where is it? The 3D modeling. So try and bear this in mind, guys. The 3D model in comparison. So you have the original settlement here. This area here is the original settlement, and then you've got the forum built on top of it. So if we go back, so this is the mausoleum here. Well, it says the mausoleum. This is where the original settlement was, and then the establishment of the forum, and then further on here. So there's an aqueduct as well. I believe this is the aqueduct that ran into Aquileia. I think that's an aqueduct, and then there's the road that runs alongside it as well. And then obviously you've got the port. So it's a very, very important town. Very, very well developed. You've got the Colosseum, you've got a hippodrome, you've got an amphitheater. There's all sorts of various different important structures in the town, in the city. So it was evidently very, very important. I believe it was supposed to, at its peak, have 100,000 people living in it. Which, I don't know about you guys, when I look at this space here, you think, 100,000 people living in there? It doesn't seem right. But you have to remember that it wasn't just within the walls, right? So you can see how there is a settlement on the other side of the river. these settlements would have... It would have been more built up. In a similar way to how towns sort of built up around fortifications in medieval times, it also happened in Roman times as well. So, for example, I think Newcastle is an accidental city in the UK because the Romans built a fort on the frontier, and then all of a sudden, all of the locals basically just moved in around it for protection, essentially. So all the rabble of the local populace were just like, oh, well, that seems safe. Let's just live around it, because then you were safe, essentially. And that's literally where the name Newcastle comes from, because it was a new castle that they built on the frontier, and then it became a town, and then a city. So yeah, that is Aquileia. So yeah, it was originally a military colonia, and yeah, we have this info about Aquileia, written by Herodotus, who is a Greek historian during the reign of, I think he was around the time of after Marcus Aurelius. So he's writing in, I think, like 238. I think something is happening, and he's documenting I think there's a siege of Aquileia, presumably by Germans, perhaps? Lottie, no. So he's talking about this. Before these events occurred, Aquileia was a very large city with a very large stable population. Located on the sea, it had all the Illyrian provinces behind it. Aquileia was used as the port of entry to Italy. The city had thus made it possible for goods to be transported from the interior by land or rivers, and to be exchanged with merchant ships. Goods were, in addition, transported from the sea to the mainland as needed, when goods were not produced locally due to the cold climate, but sent up to the mountainous areas. Since the agriculture in the hinterland had many people employed in wine production, they exported large quantities of wine to markets that could not grow vines there. The large number of people living permanently in Aquileia consisted not only of native residents, but also of foreigners and traders. At the time, the city was even more crowded than usual. All the people from the surrounding area had left its small towns and villages and fled to the big city. They placed their hopes in safety in the large city and its defensive walls. These ancient walls, however, had mostly collapsed. Under Roman rule, the cities of Italy did not normally need walls or weapons. They had substituted lasting peace for war, and had also earned the right to participate in Roman rule. So he's talking about this is during the sort of the decline of the Roman Empire, in which more and more attacks are happening on Roman territory rather than Roman attacks externally. It's more defensive rather than offensive. And so essentially, yeah, Aquileia was a very important city for the area, but by the time of Herodotus' writing, it's unfortunately fallen by the wayside. Or rather, the protection of the settlement. So yeah, all in all, basically just talking about how, this whole section was talking about how did the Romans keep themselves? Pretty much walls. Walls, fortifications, inspired by the urban planning, and walls and fortifications inspired by the military itself with the castra, and, you know, brought it all together in places like Aquileia, in which there were urban giant walls, which these walls originally constructed 100 BC. This is 380 years later or something, or 330 years later, in which the events here are happening. So it's understandable that the walls, when these cities were in relative safety for hundreds of years, that they hadn't, you know, maintained them. So yeah. Next section, I forgot to make a panel for it. How are the Roman cities designed? And so, yeah, we're talking about Timgad again, or Thormugadi, I think is maybe the Roman name for it. But the city from the start, this one here. This city is from the grid layout from above. This is what it looks like. And so each one of these plots is called an insulae. And so each plot could house quite a lot of buildings, and so you have like quite a significant amount of people living in each plot, and all these different people sort of, you know, building and constructing their own houses. So like, I believe people had to pay for their own houses to be built. It wasn't necessarily just like, here's the plot of land, here you go, this is your plot. You had to buy a plot and build it. Or you had to maybe apply for a plot and then build it. Hello. Hello. Also, someone was asking about the game. Don't worry, the game stream will push it back until I'm done. Because I've got a little bit left to go. Got a little bit more to yap on about. So how are these cities designed? The influence not only coming from the Greeks with the Hippodamic style, which was invented by Hippodamus of Miletus, but obviously also the influence of urban planning from the military and the Castro, right? All of this was, you know, all intertwined and influenced with each other into how they came up with these designs. And so the way that these cities are structured is primarily built around the grid layout that is orthogonal in layout, built on two major streets. So you have north-south, which is the Cardo Maximus, and then you have the Decumanus Maximus, which is the east-west street. So you can see them highlighted here. I got these from a YouTube video from Alpha Helix, which I don't know. When I watched it, I was like, is this AI made? I can't tell. But yes, basically they did have this handy-dandy image that I could use of it being a grid-based city, and you have the north-south streets, and then the east-west streets, and then the important infrastructure being built around the intersection of the two main streets. So this is the Roman Forum here in Timgad, which, oh sorry, I didn't mean to do that. If we go back over here, you can see it. There you go. So this is the central area here. You can see it here. This represents the Forum. This space here. So yeah, very important key features of Roman cities that they built was this north, south, and east-west road, which, guess what? Old mate Vitruvius talks about. He talks about the roads. So the town being fortified, which I find this very fascinating, that Vitruvius talks about where to build it and then fortifying it instantly. Like, he's like, oh, build a wall around it and then build the city. He's like, no, don't build the streets first, build the walls first. That's how sort of siege and military minded he is. So the town being fortified, the next step is the apportionment of house lots within the wall and the laying out of streets and alleys with regard to climatic conditions. They will be properly laid out, and the foresight is employed to exclude the winds from alleys. Cold winds are disagreeable, hot winds enervating, and moist winds unhealthy. We must therefore avoid mistakes in this matter and beware of the common experience of many communities. For example, is it Militine? I think it's Militine. In the island of Lesbos is a town built with magnificence and good taste, but its position shows a lack of foresight. In that community, when the wind is south, the people fall ill. When it is northeast, it sets them coughing. With a north wind, they do indeed recover, but cannot stand about in the alleys and streets, owing to the severe cold. So he's talking about various different, like, is it Mytilene? Oh yeah, it is Mytilene. What did I say? I don't know. Yeah, Mytilene. So he's talking about basically town planning, essentially, and how they established the street layout. And the various different angles that they are. So you have these north, south, east, west streets, but you can see that it's not exactly north-south. It's not directly north-south. Because, you know, they needed to essentially put them at angles that didn't supposedly affect people's health, right? Has anyone ever been out in a place which has the unfortunate situation of you step out into streets and then all of a sudden you just get bowled over by the wind? AKA, have you been to Melbourne? Because that sucker is breezy as hell. You step out into the street in Melbourne, Chicago, right, and you just get bowled over. New York, right? So like the Romans were conscious of these, right? They were like, hey, we need to like design these cities so people can not be just like blown over by the wind. And then nowadays we're just like, whatever. Whatever. So it's just interesting that the Romans were like, hey, let's just try and design cities and urban spaces with that in mind, right? That said, there's some of the, like, he goes into how they decide where, like, what angle they should put the streets on. It is somewhat of a little bit of a little bit of vibes based, because they're just like, oh yeah, the wind, it blows this way at this time, so ergo it will always blow at this way at this time. I'm not an expert in climate or like weather patterns. I don't think I've ever thought about, oh yeah, the wind blows in one way, it always blows that way. I don't know if that's necessarily true. So I assume there's some sort of assumptions being based on, like, oh, the wind is blowing this one way. It's predictable, I suppose. Coastal winds, I guess. There's the dominant direction. So the Romans, they did counter in that, supposedly, when it came to their streets, where they're like, hey, put those streets and alleys in ways that you hopefully don't get wrecked by these dominant winds that we have in the area, right? So I don't know necessarily, but he does go into it in chapter 6 of Vitruvius's book. If you want to look that up, that you can look up Vitruvius's book. Like, if there's a website called Gutenberg.org, which basically just hosts a whole heap of translation artwork for ancient sources, one of which is Vitruvius. So if you do want to read it yourself, it's not a very long piece. Like, it's, when you think of books, like book 1, book 2, book 3, book 4, you could probably read all of this in like maybe 2 hours. You could probably read the whole thing in 2 hours, like however many books there are. I think there's 4 books. You could probably read all 4 in 2 hours. Yeah, the scale of Roman literature is actually quite small compared to what we have nowadays, right? And I've just made the mistake of scrolling and lost my spot. But yeah, he goes into like the tools in which they describe where to have roads laid out. Sorry, I can actually, you know what, I'll just capture it real quick. If I just change my capture, is it this one? Oh, Jesus Christ. I think it's this one. There we go. Okay, so these are the diagrams that they have, essentially, of like, hey, this is what they use to decide where they put the streets at. So if the winds are blowing from X angle, then they build at Y angle, right? Like, it's pretty fascinating stuff about just like the logic behind the streets and whatnot, right? Have I read the Aeneid? A long time ago from my undergrad, and I don't remember much. A long time ago. But yeah, there's so this is his whole section on the winds, right? This is chapter 6 about the wind. That's all of it. That's all of it. It's really not that long. There you go. Anyway, let me change the capture back to the actual slides, which is this one. There we go. Cool. Back to the slides. So yeah, this is the layout of the towns, and the wind with the Vitruvius focusing on the importance of wind, and so we were talking about this grid. Now, did the Romans always follow this design of following the orthogonal grid design in relation to Aquileia and Pompeii? Did they follow it, guys? Important question for the chat. Do you think they followed the grid? Or could they follow the grid? No? Doesn't seem like it? Well, in Aquileia they did. But in Pompeii they didn't. Because, as hopefully you remember from the start, guys, why wouldn't Pompeii have followed Roman street designs? Hopefully someone in chat will be able to get the answer. Because it wasn't Roman! Yes! Thank you, guys. Thank you. You were paying attention. Because it wasn't originally Roman. So it doesn't follow the same rules as, for example, Aquileia does. There you go. Because it got colonized by Rome. Yay! Yippee, guys! Yippee! You got the answer right. So yes. Aquileia, unfortunately, ruins. So we don't really have much going on in terms of the actual streets. But we do have, in Pompeii, thankfully, we do have Pompeian streets and roads. So this is the main street of Pompeii. This is, it is the Via de Mercurio, I believe. It's this street. If you can see it here, this one here, it runs down past the Forum. This is the main street. You might not think it, because it doesn't really run. Like, you would think maybe this is the main street of Pompeii. It's actually this one, because this is where the Forum is. This is the main hub of the city of Pompeii. So this is that street, and you can see just how wide it is, right? Like, just how friggin' wide the street is. And yeah, that is, I believe this would have been a aquifer. I think this would have been an aquifer in the city in which people would have brought up water from. And you can just see how long it is and how sort of urban sprawl it is. Like, there's not really much in the way of, like, green space, right? It's literally just an urban sprawl. They were very... They didn't really have sort of the modern concepts that we do now of having, like, a balance between a green and an urban space, right? They were very much just, like, pave it all, right? So you've got this huge wide road, with footpaths on either side, and then you also have the main street in which wagons, horse-drawn carts, chariots, all these sorts of vehicles and animal-powered transportation would have gone down the middle, and then the footpath on the side. Very evocative of modern cities, right? Not much has changed. And then you also have things like this. So this is one of the other roads of Pompeii, and you might notice there's grooves in the streets. Guys, what do you think those grooves are? Water drainage. For the wheels. Sewage channels. So, there's two reasons for them. Yes, they are actually for the wagons. So you can see these steps here. Step, step, step. That's for people to cross the road. And the wagons and vehicles and chariots and all that, they go over and in between these gaps. But they also serve a second purpose in that it's sewerage. The waste of the Roman space, like we think of in places like Rome and Pompeii, yeah, the streets were just filled with poo. So, like, the waste of the streets would just flow down the streets. Like, not a pleasant place to be. And so I believe there were dedicated street cleaners. But yeah, so these steps here are basically also to stop people from having to step in rivers of shit, essentially. It's pretty gross. It's pretty gross. So yeah, there's you would, if you've ever thought about wanting to go back to like Roman cities, Roman towns, just maybe bring like a nose plugs, because guarantee you, it would be horrendous. Actually horrendous. Just how awful it would have smelt. Like, you would just be walking past poop all the time. And you have more examples here. Again, sewage and also cart tracks, essentially, in the streets. So, like, people would just throw out their waste into the streets. They had drains and sewers. Yes, they did, but not all of them were connected. And so the streets did often serve as a place for where the waste was dumped. Imagine if it rains. Yeah! Like really bad. Like literal flowing rivers of poop. Imagine it during the summer. When the poop, like, this is on the Mediterranean. Guys, in the heat of Mediterranean summer, guys. This is... Where is it? Where's my map? During the height of summer. Just the smell of poop festering in the heat. Yep. Hot and dry. Pleasant. So yeah, the streets of Pompeii served multiple purposes. Unfortunately, one of which was for waste disposal. Yeah. Did they use it as manure? I believe so, yes. I believe there was the people who were responsible for cleaning up the streets were also using that for things like in farmland and sort of essentially like fertilizer, essentially. I believe that is what it was used for. There's stories of like food preparation being done right next to where the toilet was, right? So like people had like a toilet, like there were public spaces, there were public toilets, and then there was obviously private toilets if you were wealthy enough. And those spaces were often next to where they made food. So you could be enjoying a wonderful Roman stew and literally just have someone shitting right next to it. So yeah. If you ever wondered why the Romans got sick a lot, there's you can maybe potentially realize as to why sanitary standards weren't necessarily as high as you may have been led to believe about Roman spaces, or urban spaces in particular. Okay, so that was to do with the streets. Unfortunately, with Aquileia, we can't really talk about it, but following, where was I? With the north, south, east, west sort of junctions, and following like the major road. So this is the major road leading in from the west. There was the major road leading in from the north. There's one from the south, and then there's also this, I think, along the east of this of Timgad. Aquileia sort of follows those sorts of rules, right? You have the main rule, the road, which is the Via Julia Augusta. You have the Via Annia, which leads over through Veneti, and then you also have the Via, is it Per Emina, Via Gemina, and then the Via Per a guest. So, you know, these roads are all very important for the flowing of traffic throughout the region. And Aquileia served as a major fort and intersection point for the region, right? Pompeii, not so much. Pompeii was very much just like it's also one of those misnomers where we talk about Pompeii as like a city. Technically, Pompeii was basically just a big town. I think the current estimations of population of Pompeii at the time of the eruption was like 11,000 or so. 11,000 people. Whereas Aquileia is believed to have had upwards of 100,000 people, right? So this is a proper urban city, whereas Pompeii is, you know, basically like a small, a big town, rather. A big town filled with brown. Oof, pleasant. So yeah, we've talked about the streets. What else can we talk about with regards to the design of the towns, or cities, I should say? So, infrastructure. How were Roman cities designed? So the principal streets intersected at the points, which was normally where the forum was built. So if we go back to our map, Pompeii, can't really talk about it because it's not Roman, but Aquileia. The principal streets originally, well, it's kind of weird, isn't it? Principal street would have been this one, Julia Augusta, and this one, the Specularis. So where is the intersection? The intersection's here. So they've actually built it slightly off center, and then the forum is to the north rather than to the south, because they're limited by space. You have the river here. So the forum would have been built here because the settlement pushed upwards to the north rather down to the south, right? Because they didn't have much room down to the south because you're limited by the space that the river allotted. So normally, when it came to intersections of streets, for example, in Kimgard, here we go. So there's the intersection right here, forum right there. So that is basically the principal designs that they used in Roman cities. Most of the important buildings were in the center. The center was typically where those streets intersected. The two major streets intersected. So that central hub was the porticoed plaza of the forum, temples, the curia, and the basilica. Pompeii gives us the opportunity to look at those urban centers. Now, where is the urban center then, guys, on this map of Pompeii? Can you point out, using those tips, where is the forum, the temples, the basilica, where are they located? Where are they located in Pompeii? Bottom left. Exactly, yes, the southwest corner, exactly. So this is the actual center of Pompeii. And you may notice the center of Pompeii overlaps with... If we scroll up, the corner of Pompeii, that is the center of the town, actually overlaps with, guess what? The original settlements that Samnites built. Because essentially, that's what they did. The Romans built over the original Samnite structures and established in the original, you know, this was the original central location of the town, and then it's built over and around it. So that's how they built it. So originally it was actually the center of Pompeii, but then Pompeii got bigger, much bigger, because the Romans built it bigger. So yeah, this is the center of Pompeii. This is the urban center of Pompeii. For a lot of people, it's actually really far away. Like, you're basically walking, if you lived over here, you're basically walking all the way across the town just to get to the forum for any important announcements or whatever. You needed a business in the basilica. Like, if you wanted to go buy something from the basilica, from the market stalls in the basilica, you had to basically walk across the entire city. Or did you? We'll get to that later. But yes, so this is how they designed Roman cities. So the most important buildings typically went around the urban center of the town, which is the forum, and then entertainment and leisure buildings were typically on the boundaries. We can look at the town of Pompeii and also the city of Aquileia for examples of that. You have the central forum being here, you have the entertainment being over here. So this is the amphitheater, You also have the Palestra, which is I believe, a wrestling arena. This building here was where the wrestling events were held. You have the theaters over here. So the theater is still somewhat central to Pompeii, but if you go back to the original drawing of when the town was established, it's actually on the outside. So originally it was on the extremes, on the outsides of Pompeii, but with the expansion of Pompeii, it actually became more centrally located. So if we go back, sorry, I'm jumping around slides a lot, but this is an important slide. So this is actually the amphitheater of Pompeii. If you've never seen it, this is it from the sky. And so yeah, you can sort of see the same pattern happen in Aquileia. You have the circus or the hippodrome on the outside, you have the theatre on the outside, you have the thermae on the outside, you have the amphitheatre on the outside, you have the basilica, strangely, on the outside, but still somewhat centrally located. Like, it's not too far away from the forum. And then you also have, even on the outside of Aquileia, you have a thermae over here and a forum over here. So basically, like, basic sort of Roman structures of central urban hub, very important for the running of the town. Essentially, the most important things to defend go in the center. So, you know, it allows the population to congregate in the middle, and then the entertainment is to the side. And someone asked why? Well, that's because it makes sense to have the most important buildings of the urban space, which principally these urban spaces were built predominantly for administration, defense. Maybe Falotti. These spaces were built, like, for example, Aquileia. It was a military settlement, so all the important military buildings in the middle, right? When it comes to being a town, once you've already built those urban spaces up, so you've got your forum established in the middle, you've got the, well, not necessarily basilica, but you've got the curias in the middle, right? But you need to provide amenities for the people to keep them happy. Where do you build them? Well, you can't build them in the middle anymore, so you build them on the outside. Same logic with Pompeii, right? We'll go back to the Pompeii map again. So you've got the main urban space here. Where can you put the amenities to keep people entertained and happy and not make them want to leave or revolt? They go on the outside. So they go here, and then when the city expands, boosh, boosh, and then boosh. Where do you put the amenities again? You put them on the outside again. So that's why they built them like that. As far away from the poop as possible. Unfortunately, I don't think you're getting away from the poop. The Pyramid of Needs. Kind of, yes. Similar sort of concepts of the most important urban spaces go in the middle, because that is what the town is built around. And then when it comes to, you know, the satisfaction of your population, well, all the central urban space is already allocated, and then the urban, like, where they live is also allocated. So you need to build around that for the amenities. Yeah, because when you're building a town, the first building you're building is not going to be a hippodrome, right? You're not building an amphitheater or a hippodrome or a theater as the first building that you get when you get a settlement, and hopefully we'll be doing that when we get to the gameplay. Hopefully I don't make that mistake, right? You're building a forum. You're building the houses in which your population live. You're building the main urban spaces, the curia, the markets, etc., etc., etc. After you've got enough of a population, then you maybe think about, okay, what do we need to do? We need to keep our people happy. We need to entertain them. We need other stuff. Then you build the theater, right? So yeah, hopefully that makes sense, guys. Hopefully that makes sense. And guess what? Bish bash bosh. We've got yet another quote from Vitruvius, and holy boy, it's a big one. So yes, he's mainly approaching it because Vitruvius friggin' loves temples. He loves temples. He has a whole book dedicated to temples and the design of temples. He loves them. So I'm not going to read this entire description, but he talks about Having laid out the alleys and determined the streets, we next have to treat of our choice of building sites for temples, the forum, and other public spaces with a view to general convenience and utility. If the city is on the sea, we should choose ground close to the harbour as the place where the forum is to be built. Guess what, guys? If we go back, if we interrupt Vitruvius for a sec, the forum is next to the Mariner Gate. Guys, what do you think the Mariner Gate leads to? There's a clue in the name. There is a clue in the name as to what the Mariner Gate leads to. I wonder what it leads to. No, it's not the baseball stadium. It's to the port. It's to the harbour. It leads that way. So, Pompeii, not necessarily a coastal city. It is fairly inland, if you remember the image of Pompeii. Where is it? There we go. This is where Pompeii was in location to the water. It's not like on the coastline, like directly on the coast, but you have to remember there isn't the massive urban sprawl of this entire modern day city there. Like, the view from Pompeii to the harbour would have been a lot clearer in those days. And also, you don't want to build on the water because that makes you more susceptible to naval invasion, right? Where were we? Okay, yes. We should choose ground close to the harbour as the place where the forum is to be built. But if inland, in the middle of the town, for the temples... if you are inland, you build the forum in the middle of the town. For the temples, the sites of those of the gods under whose particular protection the state is thought to rest, and for Jupiter, Juno, and Minerva, should be on the very highest point commanding a view of the greater part of the city. Mercury should be in the forum, or like Isis and Seriphus, in the Emporium, Apollo and Father Bacchus near the theatre, Hercules at the circus in communities which have no gymnasia or amphitheatres, Mars outside the city but at the training ground, and so Venus but at the harbour. So if we look over at this annotated design of Pompeii, you can actually see they followed his advice. Where's the Temple of Venus, guys? It's next to the Mariner Gate. Where's the Temple of Apollo and Jupiter? It's next to the Forum. You know, here's the Temple of Isis. It's next to the theatre, right? Like, these are just principles that they followed for urban space. It's like, oh, Temple of Isis. Okay, that makes sense to go next to the entertainment. Temple of Venus. That goes near the harbour. Temple of Jupiter. Important. Build it next to the Forum. It's the central point of the town. It's the most important urban space within the settlement. Right? Like, they did follow this advice. They had good feng shui with their gods. Essentially, yeah. Basically. Where were we? It is moreover shown by the Etruscan diviners and treaties on their science that the fanes of Venus, Vulcan, and Mars should be situated outside the walls, in order that the young men and married women may not become habituated in the city to the temptations incident to the worship of Venus, and that building may be free from the terror of fires through the religious rites and sacrifice which call the power of Vulcan beyond the walls. As for Mars, when that divinity is enshrined outside the walls, the citizens will never take up arms against each other, and he will defend the city from its enemies and save it from danger in war. So I don't know if Pompeii necessarily has a temple to Mars listed. I don't think it does. I don't think it does. No, it doesn't. But you do have the gladiator barracks there, which is, again, part of the entertainment. No, I don't think it does. And then I think in terms of Aquileia, we don't unfortunately have that information about where the temples. That's where they went wrong. Maybe that is where they went wrong. So yeah. So dealing with the urban spaces, we've already kind of looked at Pompeii a lot. So here's Aquileia. So this is the Forum of Aquileia. It's literally next to a road. It's kind of interesting that, like, every day, if you live in this area, you're just driving past the Roman Forum every day on your way to work, maybe, which is kind of fascinating that you just have to go past it. But also, we have some urban spaces in Aquileia that did get preserved, built over. So we actually do have temple mosaics. So they're quite fascinating. I'm not going to go into too much detail about them. Oh, I forgot to delete the... Guys, I forgot to delete the... Ignore me, I forgot to delete that. So yeah, there's all sorts of fascinating mosaics. A lot of the mosaics that they do have in Aquileia are actually dedicated to later periods of the Roman Empire. So during the Christianization in particular, there's quite a lot of... because of how important Aquileia was to the propagation of Christianity in the area. It's a fairly important site to Christianity, so yeah, there's a lot of mosaics that are to deal with Christianity and late imperial Rome. So yeah, there's that sort of urban space. And then I have another slide about Pompeii, which is dealing with the... I don't remember. What was this? I put this in at the end. Hang on. Let me just check my the. Wait, I think I pulled this from... What is this? Oh, right. Okay. So these are the amenities of Pompeii, sorry. Yes. So we're talking about the amenities of Pompeii. So you have... These are the baths. These are the baths. So public baths, you've got the green one over here. The yellow one near the forum, and then you've got these two are fairly central. This is a brothel. this orange one in the corner here, that's a brothel. You've got, obviously these are the theaters. This is the wrestling arena. If I can find this panel. Okay, yep. So this is... I'm not sure what that is. I'm not sure what this specific structure is. But yeah, there's, these important public amenities, bathing, important, not in the main street. Well, the main street was, well, you've got this. This is I think that's yeah, that's the forum bath right there. So that's the forum bath. Probably should have had this alongside this. You got the central baths here. So that is the central bath of Pompeii. You have the Stabian baths here. This is I think it's called the Lepinar building. Lupinar, sorry. Lupinar. That is that's the brothel. And then you've got the gladiators over here. And then there's this one. So this bath on the outside, I believe, was mainly meant for travelers, not for people living in the city. So it's more of hey, I'm traveling through the city. I need to, I just got off a boat. I want to get a bath, right? This is where you would get the bath. And they had hostels in the town, right? So there were urban spaces which you could rent for staying. And we will get into that right now. So what about the rest of Pompeii, guys? Well, guess what? We actually have maps of Pompeii with as much as we know about what was located where. So if I change my window capture real quick, hopefully I don't dox myself. I don't think I am. Guess what, guys? Here's a digital map of Pompeii with buildings laid out. So if we zoom out a little bit, you can see just how many things were around Pompeii, and it's annotated. So this is this map was created in 2021, and it's actually a fascinating map of Pompeii. So essentially, if we zoom in on the forum, obviously here's the forum, very important. This is the urban. This is the the things that we've been focusing on for this lecture, the big urban important spaces. You've got the forum. You've got the basilica here. You've got your temples all around. You've got the main bath. I think is here. Yep, this is the main bath here. The forum bath. Got more temples. But then, what about the rest of the properties, right? So these insular, all these different grids properties, right? They had people living there. They had buildings there. But what were they? And so this map is very cool, and that you can just click on them. So this is an office of a workshop. Here's a shop. Here's someone's house. So this is the house of Holcanonius Rufus, for example. There's a shop here. This one was plaster remnants. So plaster remnants meaning there were people inside. Stairs up, ruinous states. This is the shop of Cestius Proculus. We have this shop over here. Single room, traces of wall decorations, ruinous conditions. You know, you've got the theaters over here, but you know, you've got like all these different areas. So this is, I believe, if I click on this, yeah, this is a clothes manufacturer. This property here was where they made clothes. This shop down the street. There's graffiti on the facade. Linked to property number 6. Painting towards Mercury. This was the house of Popidius Montanus. Here's a shop. There's a garum maker, I believe so. Yes. If we go through industry and trades, we might be able to find. And there is a. Sorry, I'll just hide it for a sec. There is a actual. Let's try and find it. There's a little list of all the different things. So you've got studies, shrines, temples, gates, bakeries, palestras, which are open areas used for wrestling and exercise, attached to bath complexes. I'm trying to find. Is there anything to do with the garum? I think we might be looking a little bit blind for the garum. Sorry, might be a little blind. But yeah, if you can't see on the left. Sorry, it's cut off. But there's listed over 300 shops in the city, right? So like, even though the main urban space of Pompeii was over here, obviously, and you know how I mentioned, oh well, what did the people who lived on the extremes do, right? Because you have people living over here, right? You've got this thermopodium, which is basically just like a restaurant, right? Place where people could eat and get served food. You've got a shop over here. I think there's a bakery nearby because I did peruse this. There's like a bakery. There's here's a snack bar. This building here was a snack bar for the Romans. It's just a fascinating insight into the culture and the consumption of Roman society, right? Like, this was a store. This was a tavern. The Capuana Satiricus lies on the south side of the Via del Abbondanza, immediately east of the bakery owned by the same proprietor. So this is a bakery right here, owned by the same person. They own this bakery, and then there's also this tavern that they owned right next to it. So they had a little bit of a monopoly. Oh, we got ads. Shit, we got ads. Sorry, I'll pause. Have I really been going for 3 hours? 2.5. 2.5. I'm not that much over, because we're basically at the end now. We're basically at the end of the lecture, just for the record. Hopefully this has been insightful, guys. How did you like it? I'm basically just showing things that I found online that I think you might find interesting about Pompeii. Yes, thumbs up. Like it, hate it, like it, hate it. You've learned a lot? I hope so. I will admit, like, urban space, urban history is not really it's not my forte at all. A lot of this feels like one of the concerns I had about this lecture is that a lot of what I'm saying is kind of just like surface level knowledge. I don't know how in-depth it is to the average person. Might seem in-depth or informative, but for me at least, I feel like I haven't done the best job about explaining things super in-depth, but hopefully it's been okay. You want to visit Pompeii? It's cool, but like also incredibly hot. Just be aware that Pompeii is scorchingly hot. But yeah, I'm open to criticism as well, guys, because like I haven't been doing these very often. Unfortunately, it's just a time sink of the amount of research that needs to go into these things, and as a result, I tend to value just like consistent streaming over taking breaks to do these projects. But I understand that people do like these projects. Being basic isn't necessarily bad. That's fair. It's worth the wait? I hope so. Why is Pompeii hot? Because it's on the Mediterranean. It's on the Mediterranean. It's literally like center of Mediterranean Europe. It's boiling hot during summer. Like incredibly, incredibly hot. Okay, I think ads are over. Okay, Did I pour a cup of tea or did I just boil it? I think I just boiled it. I didn't pour it. Sorry. Yeah, as I was saying, guys, we are towards the end of the lecture. You know, you have interesting sort of situations where these two properties here, this is a bakery of Satiricus, and this is a tavern of Satiricus. So you had wealthy businessmen owning property, and I don't know necessarily know if you would call it controlling a monopoly, but, you know, having control over the area. Like, you have some of the... Like, you have other options nearby, but, you know, this businessman owned two properties serving different purposes. You have a tavern, you have a bakery, and so, you know, there were services that were for the people who lived over here. And you have to imagine, right, like, the actual space of Pompeii, it seems kind of small, but it's 11,000 people, supposedly. 11,000 people lived in this town, and we don't have every building uncovered. As you can see, there's huge swaths of the settlements that just aren't revealed. Like, you can see the following, this is the wall, essentially. This space here, that's the wall that follows Pompeii, and then it wraps around, and then back down this way, and then down, and then down, and down, and then round again, and then you go. So, like, I think about a third of the plot is essentially not dug up. Like, we haven't uncovered this area. We haven't uncovered this whole area. There's still, like, I think this is a working archaeological site here. We still have lots to find out, but also, they don't want to risk it, because when you dig things up, it exposes it to the elements, it's potentially dangerous to the site, and also, if we zoom out a little bit, guys, look how bloody big he is. There he is. There's Vesuvius, an active volcano that could go off. And so the real threat is that Pompeii, one day, potentially could be covered again. And so that's why they've stopped doing large excavations, because they're like, we'll just leave it for future generations to dig up instead, because they may have better technology, and there is a real possibility that all of this is just buried again. And so we'll just leave it for the future generations of archaeologists. Which, you know, I think a part of me is like, that's a shame, because I would love to learn more about Pompeii. But also, it's kind of cool that we're not just, like, we're leaving things for others to uncover, right? Like, a part of it is that they want to not have the whole site just be ruined, because there is a real possibility that all of this, if a volcano goes off again, it might not get preserved the second time round. Well, I guess technically it's not the second time, but because Pompeii got buried multiple times. But yeah, isn't it usually that we don't have the technology to safely do it again as well? Yes, there's also elements of that, is that hopefully in the future there will be technology that will protect Pompeii, will protect the archaeological uncovering. Yeah, you just got, you know, it's just fascinating to look at, like, oh yeah, there's, you know, you've got a tavern here, like literally on the entrance to Pompeii, first building you see, tavern. prime location, right? Weary travelers coming to Pompeii at the end of the day, where do they want to go first? Boom, tavern. Boom. This is a grape gatherer's post, so presumably also serving potentially some alcohol, perhaps. You know, there's all sorts of fascinating little insights into Pompeii that we know about through archaeological uncovering, and you can just see how many, like, the amount of food places and workshops and bakeries and, you know, the taverns. There's stuff everywhere, right? The needs of the population were met with businesses, so, you know, you've got places to eat, places to drink, places to rest, places to clean, places to enjoy yourself. Here it is. There's the Lupinara. If you've never seen it, guys, I debated whether to include slides about the Lupinara in the presentation. I'm glad I didn't, because someone said their kids are watching. If you want to read up more about it, the Lupinara is fascinating. I've talked about it before. I figured it's, you know, it's part of Pompeii, but it's not necessarily important to talking about the design of Pompeii, the function of Pompeii. It's really interesting. Like, if you're not aware, so a thing that we know about Roman society from Pompeii is that they did essentially have medieval Yelp, right? In which they left reviews for buildings and places, right? Including the brothels. But the places that they left the reviews were on the buildings, like on the facade. So we have graffiti on these buildings, which are essentially people's reviews. So if you've never looked them up, there's some very graphic reviews about the brothel. Yeah, Gaius and Aulus had a threesome, I think. That's one of them. There's some great reviews if you wanna read them. And so yeah, there's all sorts of various different, like, businesses that we have insights into Roman society because of it. So it's one of those interesting things where we are somewhat thankful for Vesuvius, but also we have to still be scared of Vesuvius, right? Without Vesuvius, we don't get this. But also, because of Vesuvius, we might not be able to uncover more until much later. Until maybe, unfortunately, beyond our own time, of our own lifespans. So yeah, that is one of the cool things of Pompeii. And then I just wanted to leave it on one more thing, guys, before we wrap up, is a YouTube video. Hopefully this is cropped okay. This is from the YouTube channel. I'll just move it in the... Oh, wait, I've cropped it. Right, okay. This is from Altair for Multimedia RKO 3D production on YouTube. And it is, in fact, I won't play it too much. It is a 3D reproduction of Pompeii. And so it's, you know, taking somewhat artistic liberties, but it is a very cool reconstruction of what Pompeii could have looked at. So this is the forum, right? This, you know, rundown structure that we were looking at before, this is what it may have looked like in its prime. There's the forum, the temple at the top, temples on the sides. So this, you know, just how majestic it looked. Like, I don't want to steal views from it because I feel bad for, like, a part of history is, you know, sometimes watching YouTube videos, but I don't want to steal views from it. If you want to look at it, guys, the title is Pompeii. It's called by the channel Altair, ALTAIR4 Multimedia RKO 3D production on YouTube. If you want to check it out, it is pretty cool to just look through. So, you know, here's the basilica, various different temples in and around Pompeii. It's just a really cool sort of, like, 3D reproduction of the city, for example, from the air as well, right? Like, there's here are the theaters to the side. This is the entrance. This is the gate to the the Mariner Gate. You've got the Forum here, the Basilica here. I think the Curia is here as well. It's fascinating, and it's just a span. There you go. It's even got labels. Back to the Forum, Temple of Isis, Temple of Jupiter. I highly recommend checking it out, guys. There's the Odeon in the theater. Well worth the view, and then there's the 3D remodeling of Pompeii as a whole. Get the link? I'll link it in the thing. I mean, it's in the slides as well if you want to look at it, but yeah. Isis, the Egyptian god? Yeah. Egyptian, what's the word I'm looking for? The Romans adapted the local, deities of various different areas, especially the Greeks and the Egyptians, into their own. The pantheon, they had a syncretic religion, essentially, where they adopted the pantheon of other cultures into their own. Because that's just how they kind of rolled. We talked about it earlier with the process of Romanization. The Romans were more than willing to accept, adapt, and include other cultures into their own. It uniquely, somewhat, when you think about historical empires, because I think there's a lot of people, I think of these as monocultures, monotheistic, dominant cultures exerting their own will on others and, forcing them into their own way of life or culture. Whereas the Romans didn't necessarily do that so much. They kind of were fine to incorporate other cultures into their own. The channel makes a lot of 3D historical renditions. Yeah, and it's just one potential image of what Pompeii could have looked like. Obviously, we don't have definitive information, unfortunately, because unfortunately that info is long gone. Give me a sec to get the slide back up, because I think we have one more slide just to work as the conclusion. Yeah, okay. So that's basically it for the lecture, guys. And I leave you with one final question from the developers, which I thought was quite sweet. So hopefully this is fine. Yeah, so one final question with Thierry from the development team of Anno 117. I asked, do you have any favorite moments or insights from the research and development of the game that you would like to discuss? And so he was talking about, I remember that during our early discussions on Romanization, we spoke with the development team at the Mainz, I'm probably going to say that wrong, sorry. How do I say that? Any Germans in chat? Mainz studio, about the richness of Roman religious life, marked by exchange and reinterpretation across the empire. I guess it's French. Is it French or German? I'm going to get in trouble. Is it Mainz? Mainz. It is German. Right. What was I thinking of? I'm thinking of something else. Across the empire. Our creative colleagues immediately connected with the idea, and as their studio literally overlooks the remains of the sanctuary dedicated to Isis and to the Mater Magna, rediscovered in 1999. In short, they were working at the heart of a stunning example of Roman cultural diversity. So yeah, there you go. I have a little bit of my bibliography. Sorry, I don't have the full thing. It's also not even sorted by alphabetical. I apologize. I also forgot to type the full title of David Macaulay's book. Sorry, I think it's called City or something. A Story of Rome. But yeah, so here's some of the bibliography. We've got the map with Roman settlements, with the works of the mapping past societies at Harvard University. We had the map about urban populations in the Roman Empire, the Historical Atlas of Ancient Rome by Nick Constable, Chris Scar's Penguin Atlas of Ancient Rome, basic, just sort of introductory books about the Roman Empire and Roman cities. Chris Scar, sorry, not that one. Richard J.A. Talbot, again, another book about the Atlas of Rome, very insightful. A.J. Cole's Roman Colonies in the Republic and Empire, important for learning about colonization and the expansion of the Roman territory through colonizing. Clifford Ando's Roman socialite imaginaries, yes, language and thought in the context of empire. Miles Levan, Slaves to Rome, Paradigms of Empire and Roman Culture. M. Carroll, Romans, Celts, and Germans in the Province of Rome. David Macaulay's book, which I only looked at a little bit. L. Richardson, Pompeii and Architectural History. And A. Wallace Hadrill, Housing Society in Pompeii and Aquileia. So yeah, unfortunately, with regards to Aquileia, I think I may have made a mistake by picking Aquileia, but I thought it was an interesting site at first. Unfortunately, because it is so destroyed and not much is left, obviously a lot of this lecture kind of focused on Pompeii, but that is kind of like one of the things, the limitations of when you talk about Roman cities. Sorry about my dog. That's one of the limitations of when you talk about Roman cities, is that you are going to talk about Herculaneum Pompeii a lot, or Rome, because simply we have so much info. That's not my roomie's back, that's someone in the street, I think. Anyway, thank you for coming, guys, to today's lecture. Yippee! If you have any questions, please let me know. I'll go through the donations really quickly, and I can turn them back on. If you want to donate at all, I'll just very quickly read through and say thank you. Thank you, Sleepy and Lumi, for the raids. And also, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the comments on the YouTube video as well. I would appreciate if you do have any questions. I'll try and answer them now, but if you do have any questions, you can leave them there, because we are going to probably be ending the VOD soon. Argent, thank you for the 10 gift subs. Thank you very, very much. That is very generous of you. Sorry about my dog. I'm just trying to scroll through, and then I'll go back from the beginning. I think this is where we started. Kelly, thank you again for the gift sub. Thank you. Palmput, thank you for the super chats. Thank you very much. Malcolm, thank you for the super chat as well.
Thank you.
Dingo's Cranberry, thank you for 8 months at tier 3. It was my first stream and very fun. Thank you. Thank you for stopping by. Roshan, thank you for joining the Prime. Thank you very much for subscribing on Twitch. Welcome to Hackstones. Dan the Dwarf, thank you for 2 whole years of support on Twitch. Thank you. Belvetto, thank you for 33 months of support. Thank you very much. Kabasame, thank you for 9 months of support. Thank you very much. And Dominus, thank you for the gift sub to Lumi. Brotato, thank you for 20 months of support on Twitch. Black Ops in Iraq, thank you for 9 months of support on Twitch. Thank you again, Sleepy, for the raids on YouTube and Twitch. And Lumi, thank you for the raid as well. Argent, thank you for the 10 gift memberships on YouTube. Please say thank you if you got one. Kirkus, thank you for 5 months on YouTube. Yes, I did talk about... I did read briefly David Macaulay's book about... was it City? Is it just called City? I thought it had a full title. But I think I forgot to grab the whole full title when I was writing the bibliography. Silence and Nash, thank you for the super chats. James Spinner, thank you for the super chat. I'll see if there are any questions. I'll try and answer them if they were sent via super chat, but so far it's just been a lot of jokes. Jorgen, thank you for the super chat. This is peak fan service, thanks. Whittle, thank you for the super chat. These are my favorite kind of ASMR streams. I don't know if this is ASMR. I'm kind of just rambling a lot, I think. MDSX, thank you for the super chats. The castle at Brest, France, started as a Roman castro. The castle is currently the oldest structure in continuous military use. Oh, that's cool. That is very cool. Pagan Mars, thank you for 3 months of support. Thank you very much. Real Taved, thank you for joining the emotes tier on YouTube. Thank you very much. Captain Mercury, thank you for the super chats. Ave, thank you. John, thank you for the super chats. Professor, can you upload the lecture on my canvas? On your canvas? I mean, this is going to be on my YouTube, like, if you want to watch it back, but, like, I feel like it's not the most in-depth, but, it's Oatmeal, thank you for subscribing on Twitch with Prime, thank you very much. Guys, did you know that if you have Amazon Prime, you can subscribe to any channel for free using Amazon Prime? Did you know that? By linking your Twitch and Amazon accounts, and you can support me for free without any further purchases. Hashtag chill. Glowbang, thank you for 5 months on 5 gift subs on YouTube. Thank you very much. Or gift memberships. Thank you very much. Otto von Bismarck, thank you very much for using your Prime on my Twitch channel. Thank you very much. Welcome to Historians. And the Legate, thank you for the super chats. Gratia tibi for the history lecture, Clio. The Roman city is always a fascinating subject. Thank you very much. And thank you, Iced, for 4 months on YouTube. Thank you very much. And thank you, Shifted Clock, for using your Prime. Welcome to Historians. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, you can feel free to ask them now. If not, if I don't answer them, please feel free to try and leave them in the comments of the VOD on YouTube, because I'll try and get back to them and answer them. I'll try and remember this time to fill out the bibliography a little bit more and put it up. I think I forgot to do that for the Crazy Dude 2-1. My bad. But yeah, thank you very much for coming, guys. And we'll get ready to start the sponsored stream with Anno 117 Pax Romana. If there are no extra questions. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Sword Online. Thank you very much for 14 months of support. Thank you very much. Will this be on the test? No, this won't be on the test. Did the Romanization of cities always take centuries, or are there faster examples? Oh, it would have taken a long time, because we're talking about, like, education of the elites that would then be passed on to their children, right? Like, these are multiple generational steps of Romanizing the population to be... Oh, sorry. Romanizing the population to be more... Yeah, I guess Roman-like. Yeah, so this is a process that would have taken a long time. It wasn't just an instant like that. There's also another thing where people think of Romanization as like the extinguishment of one culture and the establishment of like a Roman megaculture on the people of who were Romanized. But there is one more important point that I think I forgot to mention. Yeah, okay, so I forgot to mention it. So Roman citizenship seen as a stamp rather than a shift in identity. So, like, what made someone Roman was their citizenship status, right? And so, when you're dealing with that, citizenship was often given out, but it didn't, like, destroy any existing identity or notions of, like, what a person believed they were, right? They just also had Roman citizenship, right? Like the Greeks in Greece who were given Roman citizenship were still Greek. They still considered themselves Greek. They were just also Roman citizens, right? So, like, it's a little bit different to maybe the modern concept of, like, colonization, extinguishing local cultures and establishing a superior culture because they are ordained by God or whatever, or have some sort of superiority belief in which they are better. Ergo, their culture should exist and all other cultures should be wiped out, right? Like, that isn't really how the Romans operated. Other examples where they built a second set of walls around the city, or was that a medieval thing? Yeah, Aquileia. Where is it? Aquileia. Aquileia. One set of wall. 2 sets of walls. There you go. We actually talked about it. The second set of wall coming after the construction of the Via Annia here. So this road here resulted in them establishing a bigger wall and boundary around the city. Thank you, Rayford. And thank you, Behemoko, for 26 months of support. Thank you very much. So yeah, not only just, obviously, Aquileia, but there would have been other settlements. I mean, if we talk about, like, when we were talking about the urban planning stemming from the castra, if we look at the castra, here, you know, you only have the one ring. But if we look over here, you actually have multiple layers of fortifications, like Vitruvius talked about, with not only just the wall, but also dirt fortifications. You have it in the castra over here, where there's clearly multiple lines of fortifications, again, around the settlement. So yeah. Any lectures about World War II? I am a medievalist. Someone was asking what is my expertise. Sorry, I was in history lecture mode, so I didn't respond directly to them. I apologize. I am a medievalist, so my focus is primarily on medieval history. I know a little bit about classical history, Roman history, Greek history, but not too much. Modern history is completely out of my wheelhouse or my wheelbarrow of preference or expertise. It's, you know, I'd have a passing interest in it, but for me personally, I prefer medieval history. Will you ever play Hoi 4? I've made a joke that Hoi 4 will be at 100k subscribers. Or followers, depending on which platform, I guess, gets it first. Or maybe both. Senior Diablo, thank you for 5 months on Twitch as well. Okay, if that is all, guys... Oh, do we know how widespread Vitruvius's works were? No, we don't. We don't really have any sort of basis for necessarily just how influential Vitruvius was on Roman times. However, in medieval times, Vitruvius was actually quite influential with city planning and architecture, because obviously during the Renaissance movements, you have a move towards trying to bring back classical concepts. One of those was Vitruvius's works about architecture. So a lot of Renaissance era architecture was inspired by Vitruvius. There you go. A lesson about the Hanseatic League would be nice. I don't know too much about it. I don't know too much about the Hanseatic League, but maybe. Yeah, so thank you guys. Thank you for coming for the history lecture. If you're going to head off, I totally understand. Otherwise, we're going to keep going because we have a sponsor stream coming up with Anno 117 Pax Romana, which was the impetus for today's history lecture. And they were nice enough to answer some of the questions that I sent their way. So thank you, Thierry and the team at Anno for answering my questions. And yeah, we'll be playing the game now. So let me set up on the YouTube side, guys. I'll hit the BRB screen and I will have it all ready to go because I'll go straight into the game. So bear with me whilst I close everything down because I have a million tabs open still from all the books and sources that I had open. We can close all these, close that, close this, keep this one open. Close that, keep that one open. I think this is active. Yep, that's active. And I can close this. And then YouTube. Okay, so thank you for coming, YouTube guys. I will raid you into the next stream. And I'll see you on the flip side. And I might also make that cup of tea. Okay, redirect into this. Save. And then I'll also need to get the Twitch stream set up as well. Okay, YouTube guys, thank you for coming, and hopefully you stick around for the actual gameplay. Yeah, thank you for coming.